Oh. Okay. How come you never play any Paradox games? I think you'd like them. I played Stellaris for a little bit. What's the problem with your UPS? I have no idea. I think it might be dying. What's the best UPS? I feel like I should just replace this before I want to kill myself. What should I order? UPS batteries need to be replaced every once in a while, FYI. Yeah, I don't even know how long I've had this one. Like 2 years? Is that really how often they go out? That seems kind of weird. Which one do you have right now? I have an APC. Did you see this guy's analysis? This guy turned into a massive Trump suck. I don't know if he's like moving back on it now or... This guy is insane.
Well, this is Dr. Grande.
Jesus. It's pulling an event code for like this is 186, but I don't know what that means. And apparently there's no publicly listable things online. Just some manual that's behind a paywall that the AI tells me has to do with some reliability on the charge or something, so. Dan said lithium ion UPS. Why don't they make those? Or do they? All the UPSs I have are the lead batteries, which are fucking huge and annoying as fuck. Is there like a high voltage? Lithium ion is the current tech. Silicon carbon is the new tech. What's plugged into it? Just the PC? Well, all my PC related stuff, right? Like PC monitors, camera, switch, router, like all that shit. Have you ever once used the shooting range in Arc Raiders? No. Just a circle jerk video for us to agree with. Sarah Payne, what Trump is really doing to the US. Okay. Seems like a bad design if it can't even act as a power strip when the battery dies. I mean, I think it can, but something happened. There was it almost felt like a circuit breaking, basically. Like it flipped and everything reset. But I mean, it's a UPS. Literally, the whole reason I have this device is so that never happens. But I think that beep I heard earlier maybe had something to do with it. Maybe it's going bad. I don't know how old this one is or how many years I've had it. Are you going to make me look this up later? Best UPS computer gaming lay Reddit. Why do you use UPS anyway? So that if my circuit flips or if the power resets or if something happens, my stream doesn't go down like it just fucking did. What's the model name? Why? Why do you care? Well, I don't know. It's an APC 1500 something. Go crazy and get full power backup system to stream through blackouts. No. What the fuck is this? $2,000? How long would this even power my PC for? How many watts does your PC use? My streaming side? Not much. Like 330 watts? I don't know what this side uses when it's Right now my gaming side is at 225 watts. So was it a circuit breaker flipping earlier? No, my UPS flipped. The circuit breaker flipping will never kill my stream because I have my UPSs. But the UPS flipped. I don't know why. Jesus. $508, bruv. Sealed lead acid. Dan said lithium ion. Are there really lithium ion UPSs? Fuck, whatever. I'll look it up after stream, I guess. Okay. What if the circuit breaker flipping repeatedly drained the UPS? No, I can hear when my UPS flips on. It goes beep, beep, beep. That's how I know a circuit flipped. This is extremely expensive if this is what Dan is talking about. What is it? 4,300. Okay, no. Jesus. Okay. 3,000 to 4,000 watt hours plus system is what I'd use for sustaining a powerful computer and multiple monitors. Well, I have two different UPSs. I don't know if I could plug everything into one UPS because I don't know if, what is the average load that your mom takes for a, fuck, where's Hobbit? He knows this, he's an electrician. What is the average circuit breaker in a home? Dual circuit will be 30 amps times, is it 120 or 240? And then 15 amps is the standard, I think. 30 is the fuse circuits, and then 15 is the ordinary. So 15 times whatever 120 is. We should be able to do that. It's 1,500 plus 300, right? So it would be 1,800 watts across a single circuit. If both my computers are spiking. Oh, and these units can only handle 1,500 watts a piece, I think, anyway. So I don't know. I'll look it up tonight, I guess. What is this? One of the funniest takes on this issue because China literally has state-mandated affirmative action for all ethnic minorities that range from bonus points in entrance exams to lower barriers of entry for admission. Okay. Man, he's really on that China propaganda. That's today. UPS don't output what the wall does. A 1500 normally tops out at about 900 watts. Destiny, 1500 VA now. Wow. Oh, you're right, actually, because it is around 900, I think, is what this is rated for. Just, you can see Lauren De Laguna does this. This is the abuser mindset. Kelly Jean did this a lot. These are always the abuser people. Did you in your deposition admit that you saw Destiny and my Lauren Southern and FaceTime Pixie, then came running across the street to confront them? When somebody just answers like, no, or something like this, what she means is that, like, I don't remember exactly what she said in the deposition, but she might have been, she might say something like, actually, I FaceTime Pixie first, then I saw you guys, then I ran over. Or like, first I was walking over, then I saw you guys, and then I started going over, and then I called Pixie after. Like, it'll be like, it's always like minor things like this, but like, she admitted in the depo. Do I have that transcript? Hold on, do I get this transcript? I'll read through. Or she'll say, I didn't run, I walked over. Yeah, it's always stupid shit like that. Would Jonathan Ross lose a trial for killing Renee Good? Renee Good was shot while driving away from ICE agents. I'm sure you've seen many videos. Ross was standing in front of the corner of the car. Good. What usually happens in situations like this? What's the answer? Wait, is this Peter Miller or is this our Peter? Yes. Oh. What's the answer? What normally happens? If you have room in your rack, why not just get a second UPS for your other PC? I have two PSs, one for each. Two UPSs, one for each PC. I don't have any racks though. I feel like I need to learn racks. I signed up to In Sickness and in Health, but it's almost 2 weeks since he broke his hip, and my patience with my patient is wearing thin. Writes Celia Walden. Wait, what is this? This isn't a troll account? You don't really need to learn rack mount stuff, but it might be convenient for the audio work. I mean, I feel like you can set computer stuff up in a rack mount, which is nice. And then at this point, my mobile setup has two rack mounted pieces of equipment. My interface and my audio interface and there's a big video switcher thing I do. Those two things could be rack mounted. I don't know, maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know. Did his wife really write a piece shit-talking her husband in the hospital? There's no way, right? That could be tongue-in-cheek. Or is this not... His wife shits on him a lot. It's kind of weird. Okay, I don't know. Too lazy to click through. What is this? Austin Abbey was genuinely upset watching his girlfriend Valkyrie flirting with another man in front of him.
No, women are very sexual people.
Yeah. Oh, no, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
You mean, you know.
Yeah, I know. You know too.
I mean, I don't know really, but I know. I heard about
You
it.
want to find out?
I mean, sure.
Okay, anyways.
No, women are very sexual.
Okay.
To his new album yet? Yeah, I didn't really like it though. It's kind of gay. As in, like, yeah, no. I know, I get it. It was pretty retarded. Yeah. Yeah, I guess it was a little retarded and gay. So, do you listen to Kanye? Did you?
Yeah, just one more word to
The
test.
federal government.
Seeing that, ICE needs to be reining in. And I think they're finally seeing that. But I got to be honest with you, when I talked to a few of my colleagues, they had not even seen the videos. It's almost like they put blinders on. They're uneasy. They haven't even seen the videos. The Democrats, we've all watched every single video from every single angle.
Yeah, that is hard to believe.
ICE needs to be reining in. And I think they're finally seeing that. But I got to be honest with you, when I talked to a few of my colleagues, they had not.
Is this a Senate Republican? I don't know who this is. Well, it says Tammy Duckworth. Tammy Duckworth. The fuck kind of name is this? Oh man. Sorry, just kidding. She's a queen. No, she's a Democratic Party. Okay, person.
And I think they're finally seeing that. But I got to be honest with you, when I talked to a few of my colleagues, they had not even seen the videos. It's almost like they put blinders on. They're uneasy. They haven't even seen the videos. The Democrats, we've all watched every single video from every single angle.
Okay. Well, probably because they know it's fucked. Oh, I understand who linked this in chat earlier. Somebody said they're trying it even in private now. The whole, I haven't seen that. I get it. I understand why that was like that. TLDR on the article, Peter takes from 4 past cases with large similarities and concludes that Ross could walk. Jury outcomes in these cases are inconsistent and unpredictable. The Renee Good shooting is the most analogous to the Takia Young case, where the officer was hit slightly and found not guilty. Gotcha. I think that case at jury trial, because of the video footage we have, yeah, it seems like it'd almost be a coin flip. Alex Preddy broke rib in confrontation with federal agents a week before death, sources say. Uh-oh. Broke rib. Have been collecting personal information about protests and agitators in Minneapolis, sources told CNN, and had documented details about Alex Preddy before he was shot to death on Saturday. It's unclear how Preddy first came to the attention of federal authorities, but sources say CNN that about a week before his death, he suffered a broken rib when a group of federal officers tackled him while he was protesting their attempt to detain other individuals. In a statement, the Department of Homeland Security said DHS law enforcement has no record of this incident. Broken rib. I feel like that's got to be like a hospital thing, but I guess you can't ask. That's like HIPAA violation. You can't theoretically just get those records, maybe. HIPAA violation applies to dead people too, right? They're still protected by HIPAA. Reddy was later given medication consistent with treating a broken rib. Well, maybe they meant a cracked rib, maybe, or a bruised rib or something. The University of Nebraska-Lincoln College of Engineering, where innovation meets real-world impact. This new device will save Nebraska's economy. What? What? Drew. Get this man in Congress. Good job, Nebraska.
Is headed for a partial shutdown this Friday as lawmakers battle over funding for President Trump's immigration enforcement agenda following Saturday's second deadly shooting by ICE officials in Minneapolis. A growing number of Democratic senators are warning they will not vote for a $1.2 trillion federal funding package if it includes money for the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees immigration enforcement. Joining us now, one of those senators, Democrat Tammy Duckworth of Illinois. She's a member of the Senate Armed Services and Foreign Relations Committees and is also an Iraq War veteran and recipient of the Purple Heart. It is good to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you so much, Senator.
Understand what's at stake with a potential shutdown here moving forward, but DHS was funded in the last budget in a huge way and certainly won't be for a lack of money anytime soon. What is the point of this potential shutdown and holding strong on that? Is there anything that can be done about the massive amount of money that has already been approved for DHS?
Well, the problem we have is that even in the big, beautiful bill, Trump's
If she lost her legs or got like injured or crippled or whatever in Afghanistan, do you think people like her ever roll by people like Abbott and they like look down on? I'm just kidding. I don't even know why Abbott's in a wheelchair. So.
beautiful bill, they gave ICE and CPB a $70 billion slush fund to play with. What we're asking for is for Leader Thune to break out the DHS budget. Let us pass the rest of the bill. Let us pass the rest of the bill. And then let's go and sit down and work on putting some restraints on ICE. You know, I have my Police Accountability and Independent Review Act, which says anytime ICE is involved in a shooting, there should be an independent review, transparent. We need to put guardrails around ICE, and that's all Democrats are asking for. So Republicans to be responsible about how ICE operates in our nation's cities, whether that's a blue city or red city.
Yeah, Senator, yesterday, 10 Republicans, I think we counted, came out strongly, especially people like Rand Paul, who, of course, runs the pertinent committee here, but came out strongly saying there needed to be an investigation into the shootings. I'm curious, is there a chance to work with Republicans and Democrats? Is there a chance to get a bipartisan agreement on this? Since there we have Bill Cassidy, Susan Collins, Crapo, Curtis, McCormick, Moran, Murkowski, Ricketts, Tillis, and Young, all calling for an investigation. Is there an opportunity here for peace to break out, for there to be a bipartisan deal?
There very much is an opportunity for that, but it's up to the Republican leadership to decide that, right? These 10 Republican colleagues of mine need to go to their leader, Leader Thune, and say, hey...
I don't care about this anymore. You guys can't do anything, especially you, Rand Paul. Get fucked in the... you're actual demon fuck. You guys are in demon time. No more of these hearings. You guys don't do anything in Congress anyway. Either impeach him or, just, circle jerk or take a vacation. At least, have fun. I get, epic meme pictures, go international, go... to Disney World, whatever you want to do, but go do something, post good memes or whatever, make funny videos, but don't waste our fucking time with the 50 millionth pointless fucking hearing in front of the 50 millionth pointless fucking committee. So for the 50 millionth time, we can all be disappointed as you do absolutely fuck all about the egregious destruction of our system that you're hearing every single time one of these loser demon fucks comes in front of you to refuse to answer questions. So what is the point? My God.
The Republican leadership to decide that, right? These 10 Republican colleagues of mine need to go to their leader, Leader Thune, and say, hey, break out the DHS funding package. We'll pass the rest of it, and then we'll negotiate with the Democrats. Put together a team of people to negotiate. We on the Democratic side have put together our list of what we would like to see to put some restraints on ICE, and then we can come to an agreement. But it's up to them to decide whether or not they want to negotiate and make this bipartisan.
Senator, good morning. We just showed that list of senators, Republicans who have spoken out. We're hearing from some members of the House, including the chair, a Republican chair from out of Long Island of the House Homeland Security Committee, saying the leaders of these organizations need to come and testify about what's going on after the shooting death now of Alex Preddy. Can you speak to behind the scenes what you've been hearing from your Republican colleagues that's now spilled out into the public, which is their frustration in some cases, disgust in others with what's been happening in Minneapolis?
Well, from a very few of them, I've heard some discuss, but they are very much tentative. They are scared of retribution from the White House. Many of them have seen their colleagues see retribution, and they're very much afraid of that. But, what I say to them is, you're supposed to love this country first. You're supposed to love our Constitution first. We're supposed to be defending our Constitution, not whoever is sitting in the White House. And ICE needs to be reining in. And I think they're finally seeing that. But I got to be honest with you. When I talk to a few of my colleagues, they have not even seen the videos. It's almost like they put blinders on. They're uneasy. They haven't even seen the videos. The Democrats, we've all watched every single video from every single angle.
Yeah, that is hard to believe. Democratic Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois, thank you so much for being
Not
with
hard
us.
to believe at all.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Jeff Mason, the one issue I have heard from some people in the White House for some time that they thought they could get a bipartisan deal out of eventually was on the issue of immigration. It always seemed like a pipe dream. It doesn't so much now.
How did he forget her epic clapback? Did we listen to this?
My family has served this nation in uniform, going back to the Revolution. I'm a daughter of the American Revolution. I've bled for this nation. But I still want to be there in the Senate when the drums of war sound, because people are quick to sound the drums of war, and I want to be there to say, this is what it costs, this is what you're asking us to do, and if that's the case, I'll go. Families like mine are the ones that bleed first. But let's make sure the American people understand what we are engaging in, and let's hold our allies accountable, because we can't do it all.
Senator Kirk, 30 seconds to rebut.
I had forgotten that your parents came all the way from Thailand to serve George Washington.
Oh, no, he didn't know.
Move on to the next question. This is Bernie Schoenberg. Now your chance. We'll start with Congresswoman Duckworth first to respond.
And you're welcome to take some time if you want to respond to that, too.
Sure. There's been members of my family serving in uniform. On my father's side, going back to the Revolution, I belong to the William J. Penny chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution right here. And if you go to Mount Vernon,
oh, no, I thought it was just going to be her own military. Oh, no, it's even worse.
you'll see a statue of me put up by the Daughters of the American Revolution next to one of our great patriots, Molly Pitcher, one of the first women to pick up her husband's and then take her husband's position during the revolution. I'm proud of both my father's side and my mother, who's an immigrant. She became an American citizen in her 50s, and I'm just as
Let me
proud
get
of
in one
that.
last question.
Oh, no. Not the bilingual hack. Or not bilingual, fuck. The multi-ethnic hack, whatever the fuck.
What would that
She's probably bilingual too. Okay, that's what I meant.
look like? It seems to
Restart the stream.
me we can't even get a straight version of events coming out of Minnesota on whether Minnesota officials actually cooperate with the federal government in getting convicts who are illegal immigrants into the hands of the DHS. Tim Walz today has an op-ed saying they do it. Republicans say he doesn't do it. But is there an opportunity for some bipartisan deal in immigration reform? And what does that look like?
You know, Joe, I think it depends on a couple things. Number one, it depends on how real this recalibration is. Jonathan and I were talking earlier in the break about the fact that the president may be shifting a little bit because of the optics, but the basics of his policies are still the core of the promises that he made as a candidate. So if any of that shifts, maybe that would create some room. Another factor is just whether or not Democrats feel any reason right now to cooperate with Republicans. And I think the fact that they're open to another government shutdown suggests that they don't see a lot of room for that because of what's happened in the last few weeks. You know, I remember back to Trump 1.0, the president at one point said that he was open to a deal for Dreamers. That's something that Democrats have wanted for years, dating back, of course, to the Obama administration. If something like that were to come back on the table and there was some kind of a way for them to find compromise and give Democrats a win.
Is this guy a Republican? What is this guy's political party? Does he have affiliation?
That could be part of something that would create an incentive for them to work with Republicans. But
Biracial.
if you look at everything we've been talking about and what's going
He's
on
a
in
guy.
Minnesota and
He's
the
bald.
pressure and now the political weakness, frankly, that the Republicans are going to be coming into the midterms with because of this, I'm just not sure there's an incentive for Democrats to come up with a deal, and I'm not sure that Republicans are going to give them anything that they would want.
True.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is,
if you wanted Dreamers, or if you wanted some kind of negotiated immigration thing involving like permanent status for the DACA kids and everything, like you could have that instantly. But Trump can't make or do any type of video, I just read fucking video link, do any type of deal with anybody ever. I hope the one thing, and I push this in every conversation. Well, I push the Senate lady thing now too. But I hope we kill in everybody's mind. Okay, the metaphorically kill. This idea that Trump is a great deal maker needs to die. This is just, he has not made any deals. He's not a good deal maker. He didn't make any deals. The one deal that he made, he blew up, the tariff deal. Like, he didn't even write the art of the deal, okay? It was ghostwritten. You can't have guns, you can't walk in with guns. What about the Second Amendment? You can't walk in with guns. At NRA, you agree? NRA accidentally forgets to rise up against tyrannical government. An embarrassed National Rifle Association says it totally forgot to do the one thing it has been saying for years it is solely there to do. Two sticks of RAM cost $1,000 because of this shit. I don't get it. Because the RAM in the camera that's recording this is expensive, or?
Anyway, let's see if I find this. Oh, God.
Shut up. Every day I wake up and see the news and I'm horrified. I think it is crazy that some people make it sound like it's acceptable, like the murder of civilians is acceptable.
So it's...
one ear, yes.
PR has tried, but I'm not going to sit here and give some politically correct, you know?
Okay. Destiny, not gonna lie, I get LLM and text generation. I just do not understand the purpose of image/video generation. I don't know anything about the current workflow for these people, but like if I had to guess, like the idea that you could take concept art or even just describe concept art and then AI generate like your starting point and then like modify from there probably can shave off like for a small studio like 90% of the artistic dev time. That you can just like, you can skip so many steps and just start working off of, rather than like an idea or a concept or a sketch, you start working off of like an AI generated thing. Probably. Greg Bovino being shown his new office. Rip.
God, now you're retweeting. Telling people not welcome your put. Oh, Jesus.
You know that cat video is fake, right? The one with the cat in the rowing machine?
Christ. This is it. Destiny, let the fuck out of your virtue signaling. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, there's no debating this.
Oh.
Really, I mean, it's the same thing.
Oh, fuck. It's common sense. There's no debating this. I don't have to look. I'm right. Oh. Fuck. I just didn't even consider that.
Like, I don't know what's wrong with you. Really, like, it's the same thing. There's no argument against this at all. Lazy reply? Yeah, of course, because it's stupid. There's...
Oh, because it's stupid. Oh.
No, see, this is what Destiny does.
Yeah.
Mate, this is some other bullshit. It has nothing to do with this. It has nothing to do with this.
Oh, it's the thing I said. It's true. Where's my picture that I drew? Politics is stream content. It has nothing to do with this because politics is stream content. You stream about it and you talk about it as like a meme. It's like a meme. It's a meme. Oh, politics. We're just doing politics. It's a meme. None of it actually matters. Talking about streamers and trying streamers. Whoa, that's some real ass shit. Don't do that, bro. Not cool. So anyway, this would be the 52 ways that I think it would be acceptable to hang, draw and quarter, and torture Mike Walls, assuming, of course, he's found guilty by Trump's courts. Okay, Tim Walls, sorry. I was going to say Mike Pence, and I changed it. But he'd probably want to kill Mike Pence, too. Like, it's all politics, so that's okay. And that's, I mean, we can say whatever the fuck we want, whatever crazy shit, we can co-sign whatever crazy shit we see there. But for streamers, now that's real shit, okay?
Has nothing to do with what I said. You're bringing in something totally irrelevant so you can make an argument for something that you said that was stupid. Yes, you are a fucking idiot for going out there and telling anybody that they should be bullying and harassing a person in real life, triangulating their location from a live stream.
Triangulating? What do you have to triangulate? Motherfucker, he just streams his location. What do you think that word means?
And then sniping them in it. You are a fucking moron. You're advocating for potential violence, and you are asking for trouble. Nobody should be advocating for this.
You are advocating for potential violence. Meanwhile, so this is why I think every political opponent for Donald Trump should be executed for treason. Meanwhile, I'm not going to vote for anybody that doesn't talk about executing. Legally, though. Legally, though.
If JD Vance does not push for treason with capital punishment against Tim Walz, do not vote for him. If Trump does not deliver that, do not vote for him.
Like, you're saying that this guy should be killed. Now, you can try to lie and say, well, no, I just mean like for the process or whatever. The president doesn't charge crimes. Now, you can say, well, no, I just mean I want the president to choose an attorney general the president doesn't tell the attorney general who to prosecute. Well, no, I would just want a president that would have the disposition that would choose an attorney general that would also go after this guy for treason, but get the fuck out of here, you loser fuck.
Unless the most extreme, dramatic, brutal, aggressive option is on the table, I'm staying home. I'm staying home, bro. I'm done. It'll never happen. That's fine. Then I guess he's not gonna win. He's not gonna get my vote. I'll tell you that. Yeah, you're not gonna get my vote. It's not gonna happen. Yeah, I sleep.
But like, that's just politics. That's just a meme. So that doesn't matter. Meanwhile, me advocating for somebody to pin their location and don't let them join liberal protests, that's like a call to violence. Okay, chief.
Even if you disagree with Hassan, even if you think Hassan is a piece of shit, nobody should be going around and saying this. And these weird rationalizations about how, oh, well, actually, because you said this other thing, it's okay for me to be retarded. No, that's not how it works. It's not. I'm sorry. This is it. It's constantly, every single time, but what about this other thing? This is Reddit tier false equivalency logic. This doesn't work. It's just stupid.
Okay.
Everything about this is stupid. It's 5-year-old logic. Yeah. No.
Day 2 of defending Hassan. Destiny's such a retard. Please stop forcing him to defend Hassan. It hurts LeMayo. Is he defended Hassan multiple days? Or maybe because he said this thing yesterday? Chat, let's go Mog Destiny with the same reply. But he lets other guys fuck his wifey. Red pill or blue pill, chat? Massive Asmong W. Zach is always advocating violence and talking about killing people without holding back or showing restraint? Question mark? So much projection. Planned murder. Literally children. Jesus Christ.
Oh, you can't go out and harass people in real life. Like,
you literally can. You fucking retard. It's not illegal to go out and shout at somebody, especially if you're protesting. That's not against the law. Where the fuck are the First Amendment, Second Amendment conservatives at? I can't believe these guys got cucked out so hard, so fast. Even the fucking libcucks and the progressives weren't this fucking cucked. You can't go outside and protest at somebody. You can't go outside. That's fucking illegal, bro. What are you talking about?
Anybody advocating for that is wrong.
Oh my God.
Duh. How many times, like, how many more people need to get shot, harassed, attacked? I mean, do you understand, like, streamers deal with shit like this all the time.
Do I understand? You're such a fucking retard. Holy shit. I wish his mom had a bigger oxygen tank so this motherfucker wouldn't be with us anymore. Jesus Christ, what a stupid fucking comment to make. My God, the only risk this guy has is going to a fucking Wendy's in the hood and getting a drive-by. You're so stupid. What a stupid fucking thing to say.
When you have somebody like Destiny that's going out there and promoting that shit, that's crazy. Nobody should be promoting this. Nobody should be doing this. He's out of his fucking mind. Trump's alive? Okay, just give me a minute. Who cares?
I can't. I'm living in a fucking. It's not even Black Mirror, okay? It's like fucking Cum Mirror, like just the most retarded fucking thing in the universe.
West is over, they'll have to add laws and regulations to free speech in order to not protect hate speech. Being allowed to maliciously spread misinformation without consequences and thus normalizing fascist propaganda is bad for a country, actually. I've got really bad news for you. Is that... What do you think happens whenever people like me, or people that are more extreme than me, inevitably get control of the government? What do you think happens to all the people that were tweeting nonstop about trans kids? What happens to them? And now you can see why these people are so extreme. It's because I think on some very, very base level, they know their days are numbered. There is not any degree of activism, virtue signaling, crying, like victimhood that's going to save you. It's going to happen. And it's your fault. It's all your fault. West is over. They'll have to add laws and regulations to free speech in order to not protect hate speech. Being allowed to malicious...
1 second. Doesn't this Queen and Yellow guy fucking hate me? I feel like I've seen him tweet crazy shit at me before. Like crazy shit about like my dick or something. Am I making this up? Yes? Oh, okay. He's obsessed with Dan. He's a Hassan stan. Oh, nice.
I'm going to take full credit. But if it does, I'm going to take full credit.
Holy shit. I just fucking realized, bro. I'm America. And... Or am I Britain? Oh shit, I don't know. And Twitch is Poland. And Hassan is the Soviet people. And Asmongold is the fucking Germans. And they've like agreed for Poland to have their neutrality pact. They're just like splitting it up. And they're just like, let's just chill here, not attack each other. We'll do our own thing. It's so fucking cringe. How do you feel as a Hassan fan when you see me going 100 times harder than Asmongold when Asmongold is literally on his fucking platform? I can't believe Hassan earlier was like, yeah, I give props to Asmongold for this. Oh my God. Unbelievable.
But what it is an excavator factory, as I understand it, and it's going to be the only excavator factory. In other words, excavators. We all know I love those excavators. Believe it or not, I know a lot about them. We don't make it, but...
Based.
Are you asking for your mom? Yes. How old are
Street racer cries for mom after getting caught.
you? I'm 22! Oh my God.
Metro 1. I have a long eye and somebody's doing donuts in the parking lot right now.
10-4, if you're able to get the...
They have the helicopter out for this? Or is this guy in like a kill streak and this is the... Fuck. What is it called? The UC-1... What's the thing when you get the gunship in Modern Warfare 2? AC-130?
Record the driving behavior and advise on which vehicle you think that deserves to be 54.
Metro 1. I got 2 that just finished a race. Looks like 2 more setting up to race. And I got 2 doing donuts in the parking lot. They're going to be south of the main road, and all of the drag racers are going to be on the main road.
384 to Metro 1. We're looking at a white Chrysler.
10-4. Like I have long eye still. We're going into the area, but due to the sun and the direction we're coming from, it's hard to see colors right now.
I at least want some sort of video evidence of them drag racing first, and then we'll go try to make 2-5 with them.
I do have a couple of vehicles drag racing. I got 2 pickup trucks set.
These guys. White Chrysler.
I can't read the temp tag.
It's just seconds.
Honestly, I say
Isn't it, am I making this up, or isn't it like $1,000 an hour to have one of these helicopters flying? Is this really a worthwhile investment of our resources?
Leaving. Both of them are going northbound.
While an officer making his way to the scene is just seconds away, one of the 2 people that just left the scene presumably sees the officer and calls the others who haven't left yet to warn them, telling them the officer is on the way there.
Alright, looks like they just got a phone call. Everybody's running to their cars.
It's probably a C-172, and it's only like 300 an hour, so probably worth it. Now, I would say you could just be making up shit, but your name is literally Jake the Pilot, so I'm going to assume you know what you're talking about.
they're starting to get in them now.
All vehicles are leaving.
All vehicles are going eastbound on the main road. I've got eyes on the Chrysler. My Dodge is leaving extremely high rate of speed. Negative 26, I'm going to try to catch up with 54. My Dodge is leaving extremely high rate of speed. Negative 26, I'm going to try to catch up with 54. All vehicles are coming out the main entrance. Yeah,
Don't move!
Whoa!
Keep your hands up! Don't move! Put your hands up! Put them up! Do not f***ing move! Open the f***ing door! I am.
Okay, I'm just going to say this, okay? You got to figure out, I don't know what it is about cops. I don't think they do this in the military. This training where it's like a high pressure situation and then you start screaming multiple things at people is very fucking weird and very fucking, even with one officer here, I don't know what I would do, right? Stay still, don't move, open your door. Where's the Vosh clip? Where's the Vosh clip? Is there an easy way to know if I've hit
He's gonna
like
punch their table or lightly.
Shut up. I got that shit bookmarked and downloaded as a backup.
Simon says put your hands on the wheel. Simon says reach into your back pocket and retrieve your wallet so you can show me your ID. Quick, now bring me that ID. I didn't say Simon says. Simon.
Like, Jesus. So is he not supposed to move, or is he supposed to open the door?
Open the f***ing door! I am. Get out!
Ah!
Get out of the car! No! My phone! I got my phone, bitch! Get over here! Get the fuck out! Stop resisting!
Okay, wait. Let me see how justified they are to be this mad. How long was this chase?
5 Dodges leaving extremely high rate of speed. Negative 26, I'm gonna try to catch up with this court. 5 Dodges leaving extremely high.
Okay, he's in this white. Okay, hold on.
Vehicles are leaving.
5 Dodges leaving extremely high rate of speed.
Okay, okay. There he is. Okay.
5 Dodges leaving extremely high rate of speed. Negative 26, I'm gonna try to catch up with this court. 5 vehicles are coming out the main entrance. Remember behind that gray, the Chrysler and that white Chrysler.
White Chrysler is taking off at a high rate of speed. Sirens and lights are active, failing to yield.
Alright, White Chrysler is going to be the target vehicle. Metro 1, it's all yours if you still have eyes.
Guys, if you're never outrunning a helicopter, what do these things travel? Is it over 150? Maybe if you're like in a Lambo or like a super like ultra touring sport, but like these guys are literally in the middle of fucking nowhere, Texas, fucking just unless you have like a underground bunker that you're like series of tunnels you're driving to, there's just no world where you're escaping these guys.
Mexico boy, Zebra, Lincoln. Metro 1's got the eye on the White Chrysler. He was going into oncoming lanes to bypass other vehicles.
Oh.
High rate of speed, northbound, in the number 1 lane.
Bikers can escape. Bikes are not that fast, okay? I don't know if bikes are... I'm not actually sure 100% if bikes are faster than cars on average. Bikes can just accelerate fast. The big advantage you have for a motorcycle is their 0 to 60. Their acceleration is incredibly fast. But just because you're on a bike doesn't mean you can magically go 300 miles an hour or whatever, or 500 miles an hour or whatever. I think the main advantage for bikes is that you can lose people in cities because you can and you can maneuver through traffic more. But on an open road, you're fucked, right? Like a bike can get in and out of theoretically, like you can go between, you can split lanes, you can hop up on the sidewalk if you need to do crazy shit. And a car is kind of fucked in that way. But like out in the open here, I don't think you're just ever
Disengaged, not in view.
Challenger outrunning low fuel helicopter. Okay, based.
There you go, Doug. We got him.
Going how fast?
Clearly going at least 110 miles an hour.
Limeo, a 15K 1000cc bike will do 180 stock. Like reliably and safely in a way that won't get you killed? The thing is, I also just don't trust any of you in chat, because most of you guys say retarded shit about cars, so I don't know why I would trust anything you say about bikes.
How fast are you going, Don?
Our current speed is about 100 to 110, so we're kind of keeping up with him.
A moment ago, you said you thought you were going about 110, and you're having trouble on...
Oh, we are.
Incredible zooming lens that can go all the way into that vehicle, that it makes it appear that we're right on top, but we're having a tough time keeping up with this guy.
As long as you can.
Well, I think this is one of the first times where the vehicle has actually outrun the chopper.
Well, I feel like there had to be something else going on, no? Average speed, police, helicopter. Police helicopters typically cruise at around 100 to 150 miles per hour and can reach top speeds up to 220, depending on the model. And you can go in a straight line. You don't have to do traffic or turns or...
slowed down.
Okay, but if you're trying to outrun cops and you're driving into oncoming traffic, this guy was always bringing an ass whipping when he gets pulled over. Like,
I'll go at the same speed right now, going northbound.
Staying on the way out.
Turn onto Real Rebel. Number 2 westbound Real. Right turn to go northbound Broadway, red light. Northbound.
As multiple units follow behind the suspect out of sight. 8 minutes later, the helicopter follows the white Chrysler to a dead-end road. Since the suspect is now boxed in at the dead end, officers decide it's time to make their move.
Keep your hands up! Don't move!
okay, makes sense.
Okay. Do you have any weapons on you? No, just a gun underneath my name. What? It's just a gun underneath my name. Where's your gun? It's in the car.
What does slave active on the chopper's camera bottom right mean? We don't use those words anymore. It's not... What the fuck? What did they change it to? From slave master to what? Server client? No, it was something different. Main. Is it primary, secondary? It might be main and secondary, maybe?
Come on here. Mama, please. Shit myself. Please. Have a seat. Please. Have a seat, okay? Please. Have a seat.
How old is this guy?
Oh, stop crying, mijito.
I have a disability.
Oh,
You
no.
shouldn't be driving.
I was driving for a friend.
You're so sad.
Because
But you can, if you have a disability, then why are you driving like that?
I don't know.
Causing harm
I'm
to other
scared.
civilians on the roadway.
Scared of my own.
You could have just pulled over and we could have talked. But you caused this whole thing. Okay? So let's be an adult about it. Let's stop crying. Okay? Look at me. Straight. Oh, you know what? Come over here. The sun's flip positions. Sun's bad. Okay, turn that way. Face.
Is he roasting him? No, I'm just kidding. Probably for their ID software.
Is
Whatever.
my unit? No, like your whole body. Hey, stop that. Stop crying. Okay.
Why is he crying? I don't try to guess anybody's state of mind. But if I'm guessing if this guy's like reasonably intelligent, it's because he has huge priors or he's got huge outstanding warrants and he's going to get fucked for getting pulled over. Generally, when people are running, it's because they're not just trying to get out of whatever they got caught for. It's because they have huge outstanding warrants that are going to fuck them. But maybe he's just retarded. Well, he said he's retarded, so I don't know.
Hey, look at me. Are you asking for your mom?
Yes. How old are you? I'm 22.
Do you have any marks or anything on your face?
No.
Turn around. Let me get your fingers really quick. What finger is it? All right, just keep them spread out like that, okay? Okay, you got any other injuries on you?
Oh, that's it.
Why are you crying?
Because I want to go with my mom.
You want to go with your mom?
Yes.
Well, you're going to jail.
No, please. I ain't never been in trouble. I don't like getting in trouble.
You shouldn't have run.
I was trying to stop too, but I don't want no other cars to hit me.
We're going to ask some questions, okay?
No.
Take a seat.
No, please no.
Have a seat. Take a seat in there, okay? He wants his mom.
Fernando, can you calm down a little bit? Can you speak to me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna read this to you, okay, before we go any further, okay? You have the right to remain silent. Do you understand issues that were played to you?
Yes.
Okay, with these rights in mind, do you want to speak to me?
No, I just want my mom.
You don't want to speak to me?
I want my mom.
Okay, so if you don't want to speak to me,
I don't want
if you don't want to speak to me, that's fine. That's well within your right. But as of right now, you are under arrest for aggravated fleeing law enforcement officers. Okay? After racing at the Sled Amphitheater. Okay? So go ahead and put. Is this your?
Can I call my mom then?
No, you got to put your feet in the car. Okay?
I'm not searching. Why can I call my
Come
mom?
on, we gotta search you real quick. You're not gonna.
I think this guy has some mental issues, shouldn't be driving for sure, but also some mental shit going on. The problem, I know this sounds mean, but the problem is you literally can never tell when you pull somebody over, depending on what they have outstanding or depending on the type of person they are, they can turn on any kind of act they want. It could be that this guy legitimately has some kind of mental issue, or he's just doing whatever he can to think he'll get out, and he's like half a second away from flipping a switch and trying to grab a gun and kill somebody. It sounds dramatic, but unfortunately, that's how a lot of the, if you've ever watched any of the cop slot killings where the suspect or the guy pulled over murders the cops, is usually how it goes. It's like incredibly sympathetic, like it seems really sad and unfortunate, and then it flips and then he gets a gun and kills the cops. Yeah, unfortunately.
Today, okay? Why?
Because you're an adult.
I need her. I have disability, and you guys just threw me to the floor. That's my friend's car.
Well, it's gonna get to her. Okay? Have a seat.
My mom is not here.
These racers, they never think that their actions could cause somebody to be in a body bag. Illegal street racing crashes reach what experts call epidemic levels, and more than
Well, I wonder if... So what happened?
1,000 where a black top was wide enough. In the moment of the street, but before an innocent person, that's once the race...
Okay. Jesus Christ. What even is this? What is this sourcing this from? More than $400 million of the Trump Inc. $1.4 billion cash grab so far was achieved via meme coin rug pulls. How much is this like confirmed? Like, I always don't like reading about, I don't like reading about crypto anything sometimes from mainstream writers. Although I guess like the Wall Street Journal, these people should understand it at this point, right? Because sometimes when they're writing about it, they don't understand like how people are making money or what, like just because they don't know any of the underlying tech. Maybe that's changed recently though. I haven't looked at it at all recently. So maybe, I don't know, maybe not, but.
Sorry for Alex Preddy, but I don't. I know I'm supposed to feel sorry for Alex Preddy, but I don't.
Demon one.
I don't. Do you know why I wasn't shot by Border Patrol this weekend? Because I kept my ass inside and out of their operations.
Good one.
It's very simple. If I felt strongly enough about something the government was doing that I would go out and protest, I would do it peacefully on the sidewalk without interfering, via a whistle, via shouting, via my body, via any other way. I would make my objections known by standing there without interfering, because interfering is where you go south. And laying hands on a police officer trying to, or Border Patrol officer or ICE officer trying to conduct a law enforcement operation is a felony. And now you are going to get arrested. And if you do anything that resembles
Exactly. Are you ever? I typically don't because I don't have to drive anymore. Generally, I have no ego when it comes to speed. All right, I like to go fast, but if the weather's shit, I'll just drive 15 miles an hour. You can honk at me and go past. I don't give a fuck. I drive small cars. I don't have time to be dying on these roads. There are times though. Fuck, what was this interstate from west to east? I feel like this was driving to Miami from LA. There are times where there are times you're driving and the rain is so bad, and you're like. Maybe I'm about to die. Like you just have no idea. Like you're going, you think like at a straight line, but you can't even see like the dotted things next to you, and it's too much rain for the reflectors to work. It's like I don't know if I'm about to drive off a fucking cliff. Like we're just like, fuck it. Let's see what I don't know. Jesus.
It's not illegal to record.
Exactly. Shout out real quick. And thankfully you don't have to worry about this as much anymore because cars all have the lights on automatically. Shout out to the fucking retards. That if we really want to deploy ICE to people, it should be to people that drive without their headlights on and rear lights on ever, okay? They should just always be on. Just always have them on. When the weather gets really bad, when it's like rain or snow, depending on the conditions, you could be driving and those two rear lights, not necessarily the brake lights, but just the two rear lights being on will give you like 50 yards of warning versus you're driving and some fucking retard is out here. For some reason, neither of his rear lights work. And it's like all of a sudden there's a guy right the fuck in front of you. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. I have no idea you were fucking here, but thanks for driving around like you're fucking Batman or James Bond or some shit. Like, congratulations. Oh my God. How do you feel about hazards and heavy rain? When it's bad, yeah, there's times like driving through Georgia and like the Panhandle in Florida And even down here in Florida, sometimes rain is just really thick. I think hazards are fine. You just turn all the lights on. Whatever fucking lights you can get on helps. Yeah, 100%. I will say this though. Okay. I think the last two cars I've had, my RS and I think on my GTI, I have fog lights, and I've driven in places with fog. I don't know what the fog lights do. I feel like those motherfuckers are the most worthless fucking lights, the most fucking like false sense of they're doing something lights ever in the history of all of front lights on your car. I have no fucking idea what, like I'm driving and it's like heavy fog, and the rare times it's like, oh my God, time to activate the fucking fog lights, boys. And you turn them on and it does nothing. It's like marginally brighter at the bottom part of your field of view. I have no clue what these stupid fucking lights are supposed to do. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Why are you taking my information down?
Because we have a nice little database.
Oh, good.
And now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So
We're videotaping you?
Trump's lawless ICE thugs.
Holy shit. Ron Paul's younger brother.
Are apparently so empowered that an officer told someone recording them on camera that she's now in a database as a domestic terrorist. This is what they're doing on camera. Imagine what is happening when the cameras are off. This is entirely un-American. It is a disgrace to the United States Constitution. This must end now.
Wow.
I have yet to meet a South African who left South Africa during apartheid or maybe even afterwards who says they supported it.
Yes, that's what I was about
guys,
to say.
I have yet. Let me tell you something. And I don't even mean this in like I just go, this was a system that was well run. It was.
Don't steal my talking point about the Iraq War, motherfuckers.
Was supported.
Who voted for this?
I'm just like,
where are they?
Yo,
like where are all the people who had to have voted? I can't find a guy.
I can't find 20 of them. Even the people you're talking about who are now leading these like pro-Afrikaner, pro and like extreme. Because I mean, we've got to be careful. Like you can be pro-African.
Destiny, did you see the you raise your voice, I erase your voice? Yeah, I wish I would have recorded when they came to my house. I don't even remember. It was the FBI field office. Because the guy told me, I just assumed just cops just say dumb shit sometimes. I don't know, because they're not thinking. Where, I think it had to do with my Trump tweets or whatever. And the guy said to me, he was like, you can't really tweet stuff like that. You know, you don't really have freedom of speech anymore like that, right? And I'm just like, okay, because I just figured it's a cop saying dumb shit. But if I would have had that on video, I could have cried. I could have said they're attacking my freedom of speech. They're coming after my First Amendment. That was just a crazy thing for the field office dude to say in my apartment. I don't know why you said that, but it's like, okay, dude, whatever.
But not be like a heavy nationalist. And so there's like a split there. You know what I mean? Yeah. But even the groups that are running far right leaning. Extreme, because I mean, we've got to be careful. Like, you can be pro-Afrikaner, but not be like a heavy nationalist. And so there's like a split there. You know what I mean? Yeah. But even
I feel like I've seen so many stupid meme videos of these two other guys. Anytime the camera cuts to like a heavy-set African man, I'm just expecting it to be a meme video. Fuck me, but this is a real. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But even the groups that are running far right leaning, if you say to them, do you support apartheid? Then they go, I never. That was a terrible, terrible time. And I never, so even then, I didn't. I had a picture of Mandela on my wall.
What, the Rivonia trial picture? He was in jail for 27 years.
I'm just like,
grainy old picture. The one that you get at Robben Island in the suit in the quarry.
Wait, give example? The one, there's that one, I feel like I see multiple clips of these guys.
If I snap my fingers, you forget that you were ever gay.
I was never gay.
Exactly.
Wait, no, stop.
Yes.
No, stop. You can't. I was never gay.
Okay.
No, I was never gay.
Sure.
You can't just stay.
Say what other links I have open. Don't you ever take a day off from cunting? Jesus. What a verb. Thank God. Sean DeBlack. You do not hate Biden enough. Now it can be told. The Biden DOJ investigated Ilhan Omar in 2024 over finances, campaign spending, and ties to a foreign national not identified. Is there, I mean, there's nothing necessarily wrong with this. No, we need, I mean, it says, one, they didn't publicize it, which is really fucking important. I don't think we have any evidence of them using it as leverage over her or anything like that. No. Oh, it's DOJ. That must mean Biden himself must have ordered it. Well, I mean, even if, well, I mean, he shouldn't do that, obviously, but like, there's no evidence of wrongdoing. They can investigate people. Maybe she had some weird interaction with a foreign person that rose to the level of them investigating something, but it sounds like they found nothing and closed the investigation. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Ted Koppel saying your journalism talking point 5 years ago.
But isn't it in some ways not just a blessing, but it really democratizes, as opposed to allowing gatekeepers like you and I once were to say, here's the news?
Yeah, and if you think the democratization of journalism is a good thing, I disagree with you. I don't think it is. Because whether, you wouldn't dream of democratizing any other profession. You wouldn't
He time traveled and stole that one.
Democratize medicine. You wouldn't democratize the law. You wouldn't democratize plumbing or carpentry. You expect a certain level of expertise. You expect a carpenter to have had some training in his trade. I expect a journalist to have had some training in his trade. By the democratization of journalism, you make the process available to people who have absolutely no background in trying to present a fair, balanced point of view. None. So in that sense, obviously we like to think that democracy is in and of itself an unimpeachable word. If something is democratic, it has to be good.
True.
Not necessarily so.
Do you think that?
Hold on. Are you getting slight Netanyahu vibes? A little bit? I think so. I think so. I think a little bit. Absolutely. That's not on accident, guys. Glitch in the Matrix. Republicans are getting the call. They're throwing Kristi Noem.
I think that what she's done in Minnesota should be disqualifying. She should be out of the job. And I mean, really, it's just amateurish. It's terrible. It's making the president look bad on policies that he won on. He won on a strong message about immigration, and now nobody's talking about that. They're not talking about securing the border. They're talking about the incompetence of the leader of Homeland Security and the other people, Bavino, whatever.
Wait, somebody said Stephen Miller throwing Noem under the bus? Wait, hold on. Where do you see that at? I don't believe that. Or is that guy just fantasizing about it happening? Kristi Noem's language that Alex Peretti wanted to massacre federal agents was dictated to Noem and her department by the man most responsible for the controversial operation, Stephen Miller. Oh. Based. Wait, what is this joke? What does this mean? Start your clocks. I don't get it. Brexit meme. Okay. British thing. Don't care. Don't ever post a British meme ever again in my chat. We don't do that here. Let me use the restroom real quick. 1 sec.
Simply, first of all, when these people come out and go, Tim's a bootlicker for defending us, I'm like, no, you misunderstand. It's my boots. It's mine. I voted for them. I'm wearing the boot. I'm stomping on the ground. I ain't licking anybody. I'm clapping for these people that I said, please go out and enforce the law. And anybody else who's cheering for it, who voted for it too, we're all wearing the boots.
Meanwhile, 1 year from now, after the Democrats have a majority in the House and maybe the Senate, as liberals, we need to be very careful and have grace and victory. Now that we won, now is the time to pull them to our side. Now we have to make sure that we are doing everything we can to make sure that we don't appear overly adversarial, and with open arms, we need to do everything to make them understand that we don't personally hate them or hold them accountable for literally any decision ever, because we give them the same autonomy and agency as a retarded child, and we need to do everything we can to appeal to these people. Meanwhile, conservatives in power.
You misunderstand. It's my boots. It's mine. I voted for them. I'm wearing the boot. I'm stomping on the ground. I ain't licking anybody. I'm clapping for these people that I said, please go out and enforce the law. And anybody else who's cheering for it, who voted for it too, we're all wearing the boots. You're the one crying. You're the one saying, you're coming. Simply, first of all.
Jesus Christ. Okay. We'll listen to our Hutch video. 1 sec. 4 days ago. Wait, this is so old.
Vadim thinks that I'm like helping fascists by punching left and focusing on Hassan too much and blah, blah, blah. Like, he'll accuse me of like working with fascists. Like, you're on the same side as Asmongold, bro. Like, that kind of stuff. And yet, if I ask like his network of creator friends, each individually, who did you vote for in 2024? Are you committed to voting for every Democrat on the ticket in 2026 and 2028? Very few of them are going to have an answer to that question that I think is acceptable. Therefore, I think it's comical that these people are the ones that are lobbing these hand grenades and accusing liberals of enabling fascism when they can't even be bothered to take electoral politics seriously in any meaningful sense. If you're abstaining, you're not taking it seriously. If you're voting for Jill Stein, you're not taking it seriously. You're not actually being serious about fighting these people. The thing that drives me insane more than anything else are the people that say, well, take your local elections seriously. Definitely take those seriously. It's like, okay, in a vacuum, totally fine. Yes, you should. You know, I vote on local issues, okay? You know, I vote in every election. I'm very good at that now. I will never make that mistake ever again. I'm always going to vote. I'm always going to vote for the Democrat every time, basically every time. Very few things I can imagine where it wouldn't be the case. So in a vacuum, good advice, you know, stay engaged, focus on, don't sleep on issues that affect you at a local level. Okay, great, that's good. But why is that? How could you say, but you know, when it comes to national politics, not that important. Yeah, how could you, after like, we've all seen the aftermath, the consequences of a 6-3 conservative majority Supreme Court, okay? We've seen this, like we've seen so many rulings come down. Like we've seen what happens when Republicans are allowed power. We've seen what they do with that power. We've now watched for the last year plus now, this Republican-led Congress stand back and do nothing as Trump is basically in his, like, we'll call it his Nero phase of his life. He's about 2 steps removed from appointing a horse to be his successor. It's crazy. And this stuff would not be, like, if the Democrats had control of the Congress, we would make his life so miserable. Like, say what you will, they're feckless and they're toothless, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. I don't care. Like, if they controlled the Congress, we would be harassing them every week with subcommittee hearings, subpoenas, impeachment proceedings, and they would have to spend time and energy and resources addressing those things. And that's time and energy and resources that could be spent on, you know, like harassing Minneapolis with 3,000 ICE agents and doing all the things that they're doing, these awful things. We could have slowed them down and significantly hampered their agenda if the Democrats had control of Congress. We know that they're going to do that if we give them control. We did it the last time. We were going to do it again. The national politics are so significant. They are so significant. The difference between a Trump presidency and a Biden presidency. Why do I need to explain this? I was having a conversation with somebody the other day. Like, I don't want to pull it up on my screen because I don't want you guys to harass people. It's unbelievable. Like, you know, I'll put it on the screen, but don't do, you know, you guys know my policy, okay? Don't do it. Let me just show you. This is like, I can't even.
Cruz reportedly says Trump yelled and cursed over warning of midterm election bloodbath. U.S. Senator warned that Republicans would lose elections if prices continue to rise, prompting President to respond, "Fuck you, Ted." Mr. President, if we get to November of 2026 and people's 401ks are down 30% and prices are up 10 to 20% at the supermarket, we're going to go into Election Day facing a bloodbath. Cruz said he told the president, according to Axios, you're going to lose the House, you're going to lose the Senate, you're going to spend the next 2 years being impeached every single week. I mean, people's 401ks won't be down, right? The markets are up since Trump took office, no? They must be. We got AI, baby! Yeah, 16%. Let's go. Let's go. Cumulative U.S. measles cases, 2022, 2026. Okay, well. Ooh, that's as of January 13th. How many cumulative measles cases USA right now? Uh-oh. January 7th. This is 6 days ago. I hate this stupid fucking website. Good one. Updated on January 23rd, 2026. As of January 22nd, 416 confirmed measles cases were reported in the United States. What does that number mean? Why is it so different than the other ones? Oh, for the full year of 2025, a total of 2,025. Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking of the other number. My bad. For the full year of 2025, a total of 2,255 confirmed measles cases was reported in the U.S. Well. All right. Do we care about this? I feel like we got the gist of all this in Hutch's last debate. We're good on this.
Since when do you voluntarily go see patients?
Oh, at least 2.
You've seen her? She's 15.
So what? Wait, never mind.
Something in her eyes, kind of maturity.
Sorry, I was trying to react to the show. Hold the fucking...
Dan, what the fuck? Okay, some guy made a paste bin for drama. Real KDB cancellation campaign. Katie's community is turning on their streamer for not explicitly being vocal against ICE and the current admin. Who is Real KDB? Is that a big streamer?
So, how do you want to do this?
How?
Wanna buy your way? Uh-huh. Wanna put on real pants? Nuh-uh. Wanna take her for a spin? Okay. Wanna pre-qualify at the park?
Getting a little dizzy.
Wanna get that car ASAP? Yeah, you wanna do it
Wow.
your way.
Wanna drive? CarMax.
Cool.
Let's talk.
Okay, let's
let's talk.
Okay.
So, let me just read one thing that I was like, I have to go live. I have to go live. This sentence right here. It is completely valid to not want to watch someone who is a MAGA bigot. Okay? That jolted me up. That jolted me up. So, let me just come on here and tell you guys. I mean, I really don't. I think I might be different than, you know, some creators in a sense where I'm secure in my beliefs, right? I'm not MAGA, okay? You're not gonna find a photo of me in one of those fuck-ass red hats, okay? Okay, you're not going to. You never are. Whatever, I'm from Kentucky, this and that, you can throw that around. You're not gonna, don't worry about that, right? When I lay down at night and I put my head on the pillow, I know in myself, I am not MAGA. I don't support the killing of innocent people. Or sometimes even, maybe even non-innocent people, okay? But
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, there's a big butt coming up. Uh-oh, what? But
like 90% of my life is not on stream. You know, I get on for 3 hours a day and I don't, like, Saggio Mark's like for the first five of the day. But it's just like, I think I'm so secure in like the people in my life know what I believe in. Like my whole life I've believed the things that I'm telling you, like shit like that. Like I just don't, it's not that it's not that deep. I just am not like, let me go on stream and do this and let me go post on my Instagram story. You know, that's not something I'm not going to like try and check that box because I just know within myself, like, bro, like I'm not MAGA, I don't believe in this. I'm not like, so I don't even want to say pro the stuff you guys are saying. I don't even want this to be clipped.
you know what? Hot take. And maybe the stream is crazy and I'm about to change all my opinions, okay? But like, if she doesn't know fuck all about anything politically and doesn't keep up with anything politically and has no fucking clue, then she should make a statement about whatever. That's fine. Who cares? People forcing people to make like social statements about ongoing political issues when the streamer has no fucking idea what's going on. That's what led all these retards, every single fucking streamer on Twitter is like, free Palestine from the river to sea. It's like, motherfucker, you don't have any idea what the fuck you're talking. Why do you guys have such an investment in this? You know nothing, right? I actually think it's totally fine. Fuck it. Now, I think you should know something about this. So if you want to argue there's some kind of moral failing here, maybe the argument could be like, well, hey, I think it would like do good to just keep up on a few articles here. It's a really big event right now in the United States. Like you owe it to yourself even, and maybe your fans as a streamer, as an influencer, maybe to know about it. But that would be the criticism, not like, why would you make a statement about this thing that you don't really know much about or give a fuck about, you know?
So, and like to the person who said it's about spreading it, like everyone in this chat knows, okay? Everyone in this chat knows. You don't have to go on Reddit and be like, she's not posting it on her Instagram stories. So I don't want to get clipped in a bad way here, but I just like, that's not gonna be like something I'm coming on before every stream and like saying all this shit. I feel like people who have watched me, someone posted a clip in the Discord of me saying like, fuck, you know who, this morning. Like, I don't agree with those things.
Asmongold or Trump
so,
or?
Even this stream, like, I don't even want to spend too long because like, I just want to, like, I don't want to bring the mood down. I don't want to do this, but yeah. Trying to think. Because like, the shit people are saying on Reddit, like, I don't, like, I'm okay. I just want to let you guys know that like, I'm not scared
It was
of
Trump.
like, I'm not scared to say it. I'm not scared to be like, I don't support this person, that person. Like,
Wait, if it was Trump, why is she afraid to say fuck Trump?
I'm telling you right now, I don't. And this isn't even like, I don't want it to come off as performative either. Like, obviously, it's gonna go back and forth, this and that. But, I mean, you know, just you're here to game and get our minds off this stuff. Well, like, yes and no. Like, at one end, I want you guys to know for like what I believe in. I want you to like know what I believe in. But on the same token, like, yes, I'm not gonna be like, you know. I don't feel obligated to share, like I'm so private with like my life in general and like shit like that. Like, so I'm trying to tell you guys what I believe in and all that, but like it's not gonna be, I'm not gonna be like saying this every stream and all the time and like be coming on here and like sharing my opinions because I don't feel like, I don't think I'm obligated to like give that out. But I'm letting you know because y'all are saying not to be vague. I'm telling you, I'm not pro-ICE. I'm not pro-MAGA. I'm like trying to say it, okay? But I don't know how it's getting skewed already. I don't know how it's getting skewed already. I don't know how. Okay?
Okay.
So, I feel like most people know this, but I just wanted to come on because, look, like, Reddit doesn't bother me. People can say whatever on Reddit. It's like, I don't check that. But when people are, like, fighting in the Discord, like, what are we doing?
Wait, holy shit. Really? No, that's a meme. It is a meme. Never mind. Nope, I just got memed. I got memed. Never mind.
What are we doing? And like boundaries, like because this is another thing. Because I'm not saying the exact wording you guys want, I'm getting flamed for it. This is why I'm just like, right? Because I can come on here and say it with different.
Show the meme. He's trolling with this, right? He is. The Andrew Wilson just said he went on fucking Joe Rogan. But honestly, I could believe Joe Rogan doing it. But it's I think he's just trolling and quote tweeting people that fall for the meme.
Different wording, and people are going crazy. I think that's what I'm just trying to say is it's like, you know, that's why I don't feel obligated because even when I say it, people aren't pleased. So it's like, why do I need to speak on all these opinions that people aren't even gonna please when I'm trying to say it the way I'm trying to tell you guys? Like, you know?
Okay, why? This is slop. Okay. How long am I supposed to watch this for? This is boring as fuck. Let's see. KDB's Twitter community reaction.
Posted a clip in the Discord of me saying like fuck you know who this morning. Like I don't.
Her not saying Trump there is probably the most sussy thing of the entire thing. I don't know why. Okay. Hold on. Who the fuck is KDB? I don't know, but a streamer clipped up drama and then he gave me a pay spin. So we're going through it. Guys. Oh, so you think I'm a MAGA bigot? What was the attachment she was responding to? Please, T-Lel, I'm begging you. This vid of her say F Trump. This is a person interviewing people at the red carpet on the streamer was okay, sure, but I don't know why. Okay, one more from our community. I don't want this to get clipped. That being your biggest concern instead of how your community views you as a person says a fucking lot about your character. Ooh. Okay, and then we have 3 big tweets.
In the
Oh, this loser ass bitch.
Discord of me saying like fuck you know.
9,400. What? Fight with your mother. The gringa is referring to a clip from months ago just so she can say she's against Trump. Lit only to look good. And she doesn't even dare to say the words Trump or ICE. Spineless, complacent white woman. That's kind of weird. So she said fuck Trump like 4 months ago and she's like, I said it then. What, that's... Okay, that's kind of weird. Okay. I wonder if her family are huge MAGA people and so she doesn't want to like rustle their jimmies if they see anything. What is this tweet? Waking up to KDB being a flop. This world is so terrible. Okay. 4,000 likes. And then the final one. What is this? Can't believe that even Cutie spoke up, but Katie didn't.
Where is it? Frick!
6,200 likes.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even take a screenshot.
Okay. And for the final one, Caseytron weighs in. Just observing, and I think this whole KDB drama fallout speaks to where people are. People do not have any capacity to support influencers that aren't politically vocal in some way. It's rightfully becoming a non-negotiable for many viewers. I also think predominantly women audiences have a higher expectation. While I think that cancel culture is wrong and annoying, I don't think this is cancel culture. I think it's just viewers rejecting apolitical behavior and seeing it as a red flag, which is so understandable in this political environment. I think this statement is true, but I don't know if it's good. I don't think you should demand every streamer becomes like political. I feel like that's just weird. I don't like that, but... The issue is I actually don't know if I have... Like, if it was just this situation, I don't think I would care. I think in this sense, I think it is kind of weird that your streamers have no assumption over... Or I'm sorry, that your streamers have nothing to say about what's arguably some of the crazy stuff going on in U.S. domestic politics right now, like to pretend it doesn't exist. The only issue is I feel like every single person here saying that she should make a statement, I feel like all of these people might be the same people who were like, you need to have a position on Israel-Palestine. I'm just so brain broken on that issue. But maybe not. They're not. Maybe these are just like progressive-y types or like quote-unquote wokies or whatever who didn't do the whole hand-wringing over Israel-Palestine. Maybe? I don't know. Please, God, watch her fucking content so you can see how stupid KDB's content is.
Here's to the stop that never stopped. To the flavor that found its way into everything. From just...
Fuck!
I got 2 words for you.
What?
Loyalty program.
Okay.
Snag this hotel for $250 a night.
Damn.
You didn't check Trivago? I got it for $155. Yo, Benny, this guy didn't check Trivago.
Oh, you have to check Trivago.
Duh.
Look, on Trivago, you can compare prices from multiple different sites.
Come on,
And
dude.
loyalty programs and prices from hotel websites.
Yep.
Same hotel, $100 less.
2 words. Check Trivago.
Benny. Check Trivago to compare prices and save up to 40%. Hotel? Trivago.
Damn.
Being quiet equals being compliant. I'm telling you right now.
Oh no. Being quiet equals being compliant. Oh wait, this is the same.
We can't not
Oh,
do
we just watched. Sorry. Okay, 2 days ago.
That didn't fucking help.
Do you hear me
Hold on.
twice or just once?
No, it's just like every time I plug up my controller, I hear you in my controller.
Cause where the fuck? Is it this way?
Wait, I'll come get you.
Damn. Nah, I think it's this. The blue dot.
Do you?
Yeah, wait, do you have a bed? Tell me when you're going to sleep.
Okay.
Oh,
I have to
I got people on me. I got zombies and shit on me.
Egg and avocado.
Why, one day, when I'm dying in my deathbed and somebody asks me, do you feel like you contributed anything to the world? Whether or not I say yes or no is going to come down to whether or not I can convince 50% of my audience to recognize when sometimes there's something that you just personally don't like, and that's different than something being dog shit and fucking horrible. I don't think I would ever watch this stream, but it's just because this is just not content that appeals to me. Unless there's something else that I'm not aware of, though. This doesn't seem like dog shit, horrible, fucking terrible. It just seems like this is just like content that is not meant to appeal to me at all.
Guys, calm down.
And if you see in the corner of this room, there is an Apple frame over there. This frame is the switch for that path. Now simply collect 1 or 2 boxes and make a small...
Okay. I meant stupid in the sense that she doesn't stream like a commentator or anything. She literally just does game shit. Why would I expect her to comment on shit? Okay. Yeah, Mad Cultist. I was going to say that too, but... Okay, what is this? White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller says officials are... What the fuck is... Who is the Chief of Staff? It's some random woman. Is there a reason for that? Can somebody explain? Is it because Stephen Miller doesn't actually want to do any work? So he wants to go around and be a like literal fucking Hitler. So the actual Chief of Staff is the one who does shit. And so he's like the Deputy Chief of Staff. Why is he not just like the actual Chief of Staff? What? Is that why? So he can meme? It's to avoid accountability? I thought he was. No, he's the Deputy Chief of Staff. The Chief of Staff is Suzanne Wiles or whatever. I don't know why, but like you never ever hear anything. But I guess it's probably because she's like working. She's actually doing stuff. I don't know. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller says officials are evaluating why Customs and Border Protection agents in Minneapolis may not have been following proper protocol before the fatal shooting of VA nurse Alex Preddy. In a statement to CNN, Miller said the White House had provided clear guidance to DHS that the extra personnel that had been sent to Minnesota for force protection should be used for conducting fugitive operations to create a physical barrier between the arrest teams and the disruptors. We're evaluating why the CBP team may not have been following that protocol, he said. Well, I know you were looking for a tweet, but this is what I was meaning when it says it doesn't seem like they're going to scapegoat Gnome. Maybe. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Who knows? Okay. We've got our debunking HDR video, and we've got an Alex O'Connor video. Man, I really want to autism out with this video.
Welcome to debunking HDR.
Oh, I guess I'll watch Alex. My mom just blocked me over this. This is fucking retarded. Stop. Kind of funny. Asmon outflanking Hassan on why he should have supported Kamala.
The people, right? My
It's a
job is to
job,
try to
guys.
get people out there, to organize, to try to stop the Trump administration. And it's crazy that these guys will just be like, well, you know, we'll just vote for Kamala Harris and then that's it. That's it. That's nothing else, okay?
Here's a simple question for Hassan. Would Renee Good and Alex, I forgot his last name.
Preddy be alive if Kamala Harris was president? Certainly. Well, unless he died doing something else.
I apologize. Would they be alive right now if Kamala Harris was the president?
Yep.
Yes or no?
And then we'll also never go outside and we'll never do anything. And the only time we ever bring anything up, the only time we ever criticize anything that's going on is to somehow make it a fucking dunk on, you know, people like myself, people like on the left.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's obviously yes. I mean, obviously yes, because ICE wouldn't be going in there doing these operations. I mean, it's just like, again, if you want to talk about this issue, I mean, obviously somebody's going to respond that way. I don't know why I would say that. Oh, here it is. Clarifies his take on a song.
Hassa sloppy.
Crazy to me.
Jesus Christ. Wait. Am I the only one who has noticed how both of her Hispanic mods have been away from her streams ever since she gave that half-ass statement? What are the ethnicities of my mods? Have we published this? Ethno check.
Hey, I'm going on a tour of the United Kingdom.
Whoa!
If you've ever been interested in that big question of God's existence, or try to make sense of religion in the 21st century, or consciousness,
That's
or
us.
anything philosophical, then join me on stage as I try to work out some of these topics with you. I'll be in conversation with a good friend, but also bring questions because there will be an extensive Q&A, and maybe even an opportunity to hear and rate some of your philosophical hot takes.
Whoa!
The tour dates are on screen. The link to buy
Whoa!
tickets is in the description, and I hope to see you there. Sean Carroll, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me.
Is science, on its own, enough to understand the universe?
Oh, what does that
The
mean?
universe, maybe. Yeah, I do think that there are plenty of questions out there that science is not up to the task of uniquely answering. Maybe those questions include things like mathematics, which is sort of purely formal and logical and would be true either independently of whatever the scientific facts about the universe were. I would also say that things like morality and aesthetics are not out there in the universe, except for the fact that they're invented by we human beings who are part of the universe. But I do think that science is up to the task of explaining what the universe is and what happens in it, and that's basically science's job.
You're one of those people it's difficult to know where to even begin, given everything that you cover in your work. But I think that perhaps one sort of overview picture here is on this question of what science does. You just said that science explains. I often speak to physicists who say that really the job of physics and science is to kind of make predictions about the future, and really all it does is like observe things that happen and sort of describe the things that happen and use that to make predictions. Other people think it's got explanatory power. Some think it's purely functional. What do you think is the actual role of science? What can it do?
What do you think?
It's interesting that scientists are so bad at this themselves, but that's why we have people like
Philosophy of
philosophers of
science.
science, historians of science,
True.
sociologists of science, etc.
This guy's my... I need a soundbite. My friend. Sean Carroll is a published... I always get the specific fields wrong. Astrophysicist, right? He's an incredibly smart, very, very, very smart, like beyond PhD level. Plus he does like a podcast where he explores a ton of other topics like philosophy and everything else, but he gives them their due diligence. So he's like one of the few people on the planet that can be math-brained and science-brained, but also give the due diligence to like softer or non-sciencey topics, which it's so impossible to find these people.
I mean, if you were talking to
he's the one who fucking slaughtered, was it Eric Weinstein on a Piers Morgan episode or whatever. It was brutal. And he's friendly too. He's always nice. He's always a very friendly, nice person. So it's hard to attack him, you know?
Archaeologist, and you tried to make the claim that the purpose of science was to predict the future, they would be like, what are you even talking about? You know, I think that different kinds of science have different capacities. I just like to say that science describes the universe, the past, present, and future of the universe. In physics contexts, physics contexts are very special because physics has this remarkable ability to simplify complicated things down to the essence of just a few moving parts, and that gives us the ability to make predictions with wonderful precision in the future. So we tend to valorize that or almost fetishize it, like that's what we want to be able to do. But there's a lot more to science than that. Certainly people who study the cosmic microwave background in cosmology, the leftover radiation from the Big Bang, they're doing science, I'm pretty sure, even though they're not trying to predict the future. So I think of science as doing its best to find a model of the universe, of how reality works. Whether you count that as an explanation or not is more a philosophical question or even a linguistic question. But if we have a mathematical or at least a super well-defined formal structure that maps onto the universe in a definite way, then that's the goal of science, to achieve such a thing.
Well, does that satisfy you in terms of the word explanation? I mean, you know, maybe it's something that you're agnostic about, I'm not sure, and you say it's a question for the philosophers. Then again, you are a professor of natural philosophy.
I do count myself, yes, I can put on that hat.
Well,
also, I'm sorry, wait, I gotta give props. Hold on. For a difference between like Jordan Peterson and like how this guy just answers the question, okay? So like, you might ask Jordan Peterson, like, do you think that religion is real? And Jordan Peterson would be like, well, when we say real, they're historically dragons have been as real in the mind as fire is in your belly to do a thing. And is your stomach, is it real fire that's in your stomach when you actually have a passion and a drive to go out into the world and do things? And you know that the fire is real, and you might actually discover fire in your belly if you were to go out and actually. And it's like, the fuck? Whereas like, for Sean, it's like, does all science make predictions? And it's like, well, no, not all science does make sense. Some scientists would say they do. You have some fields, like archaeologists, who would say, well, no, we don't make predictions about the future. We only study the past, right? So he gives an example. He gives an explanation for why a thing may or may not map on. Like, there's a way to tease apart language where you're saying, you're asking me what seems like a really complicated question or a really sophisticated question, but if we break apart the language, the answer is actually quite simple. And then here's an example for why on both sides. I love this guy. He's such a great guy. And Alex is really great too.
What do you think?
I had like mixed opinions on Alex because he kind of both sides, like I think political discussions sometimes. But I actually don't think I'd actually listen to Alex talk about anything related to his specialty, which is like philosophy and religion and everything, until some debate he had with was it with Dr. K? No, I don't think I watched that one. It was somebody else. And I was like, oh shit, this guy is super smart. Alex is an incredibly bright person. God damn, when he was talking within that realm of stuff. And he hasn't said anything like egregiously stupid politically. I just feel like he fences a little bit, which is, I guess, kind of what I would expect if you're not like super into political stuff. I'm not even talking Dinesh. It was somebody else, I think.
Then again, you are a professor of natural philosophy.
I do count myself, yes, I can put on that hat.
What do you think? Do you think that science does explain, or does it just describe things?
I think sometimes it explains, sometimes it doesn't. You know, if you want to say, why is energy conserved? Well, we can give you an explanation because we can give you a deeper principle that applies more broadly and it explains why energy is conserved. It's because the laws of physics are the same from moment to moment in time. And there's a theorem by M.E. Noether, the famous mathematician, that says when laws of physics are the same over time, there'll be a conserved quantity called energy. So that's kind of an explanation. It makes you feel good. But I also think that those explanations bottom out. I think that there are many possible worlds that we can imagine, worlds with different laws of physics in them. And why do we live in this world rather than some other world? Well, ultimately, there might be some part of the explanation that says we couldn't live in those other worlds, but there's going to be some brute facts. There's just going to be some fact that says, well, it's this way rather than some other way because that's what we discover when we look at the world.
Do you believe...
Guys, these Andrew Wilson pictures have to be AI. There's no way that Joe Rogan invited him on. I don't believe it. You should search for that bottom picture of Joe Rogan to see if it comes up anywhere. It's got to be AI. I'm not believing it. There's no shot. I can't believe it. No way.
Even we couldn't live in those other worlds, but there's going to be some brute facts. There's just going to be some fact that says, well, it's this way rather than some other way because that's what we discover when we look at the world.
Do you believe in the existence of brute facts then, as defined, I think, by most philosophers as kind of a fact that is true? I guess it's not necessarily true.
How do you feel about Hank Green? Hank and I think his brother are also two people that I appreciate a lot because they seem to come from like they just it's hard to explain this, but like they have good thought processes and they seem to be willing to read. And it's really hard to find somebody who's willing to do both of those things. like people like XQC and Asmongold are I would say relatively like high IQ, good thought process people, but they're not willing to like read or do research. And once a person who's decently smart gets off in the wrong direction, they can just veer off so insanely. Hank and his brother seem to do a good job at having good minds, and they can explore a lot of different topics and be grounded and factually investigate things. And I super appreciate that. It's just so hard to find people who can do that.
Philosophers as kind of a fact that is true. I guess it's not necessarily true. It didn't have to be true.
Exactly, right.
But it is true and somehow just doesn't require any kind of justification. It's just true and it doesn't go any deeper than that.
Andrew Wilson has a new debate show with Sam Tripoli, a conspiracy comedian who is very good friends with Rogan. That was the link? Really?
I would go so far as to say that nothing requires a justification or an explanation. I mean, my attitude is it's nice when you're able to explain things, when you find a deeper principle that explains why things are one way and another, but we don't have the right to demand that of the universe. And so I do believe that there are brute facts. Arguably, the fact that the universe exists at all is a brute fact. It's not the kind of thing for which we would ever expect.
Wait. Thumbs up if you think Christian was doing a great job.
With Marco and Brian today. They're letting me roll with them. And pick up somebody who I think has got charges of human trafficking.
Bro, she's just...
Earlier had an op that swept up somebody who was wanted for murder, so...
Why wouldn't anybody just help her pose with it? Why not just do that? Why not just help her pose? Like, why not be like, here, just hold it like that, or at least put the fucking strap on, or something. Why not just...
Work that they do every day.
Or you know what? Props to the two guys next to her. Maybe they're trolling. They're like, you know what? Fuck this bitch. Maybe. Who knows?
To find a reason why that is true. We find reasons why for things that happen within the universe. Why was I late to work? Well, because there was an accident on the freeway and it slowed down traffic. Okay, like that makes sense to us, but that's because there's a context. And
Oh, fuck. I have such a difficult time explaining this. Or maybe I don't. Maybe people are just willingly bad faith retards sometimes. This context, like, why is a question that has to be understood contextually, because it can mean such different things based on the context, right? And this is a good explanation, right? Like, well, why didn't something happen, right? Well, you're asking me whether or not this thing satisfies some conditions inside some system. And we understand what we mean when we say that, right? So if you say, like, why were you late for work? Like, there are so many ways that you can respond to that question in ways that are true that don't answer the question, right? Why were you late to work? Well, because it's 8:05 and I'm supposed to be here at 8 o'clock. No, I mean, like, why? Like, what's the reason why you were late for work? Well, because you can answer this question in so many different ways, but it's like, it's not, you're not really like getting at, like, there's a context for everything to be understood. And this is true, like, on a up and down, like on a macro scale too, for like why does the universe exist? What do you mean by why? Like, are you asking like how did it form? Or are you asking like, is there like a reason or purpose in some like universal contextual frame? This is a good thing, breaking down these two different things.
we can ask counterfactual questions. We can say, okay, if there hadn't been that accident, would I have been on time? And if the answer is yes, then it made sense to say that there's a reason why. Why does the universe exist? It's just hard to imagine the universe not existing, so I'm not really even sure what would count as an answer to that question.
Yes, well, there's this principle in philosophy called the principle of sufficient reason, which we're kind of driving at here. You said a second ago that we have no right to demand an explanation for anything. And I think that's true in the sense that we might not be able to apprehend the explanation. There might not be like an explanation that we can uncover. It might be too complicated or outside of our grasp. But a lot of philosophers think that if something is true, there must be an explanation or a reason why that thing occurred, even if we won't actually know what that thing is. And some reasons for thinking that are like, well, trivially, if you think it's possible that things can occur for no reason, with no explanation, then some people ask, like, well, why doesn't that happen all the time? You know, you're not worried, as one of our sort of fellow colleagues, I suppose we could consider him, William Lane Craig, likes to point out, you're not worried that a car or like an entire village has just popped into existence, you know, while you're here doing this. But if you believe that things can happen without an explanation or without a reason, just as a brute fact, you know, why not? Why aren't you worried about such things? And that might give us reason to think that at least in most cases, actually, we kind of do need to demand that there is an explanation.
Yeah, I think that many philosophers do accept the principle of sufficient reason, going back to Leibniz, and I think that they're wrong. I think that is a very wrong-headed thing to ask for, and the examples you gave illustrate perfectly why they're wrong, because a lot of people have in mind that either there is a reason why literally every fact is true. Every fact that exists, I mean, that the formulation of the principle of sufficient reason is, for everything that is true, there is a reason why it is true. Or there's no reasons, right? Or like anything can happen, cars and chairs can pop into existence, like chaos is loosed upon the world. I think it's pretty clear that there's an intermediate position where some things happen for some reasons and other things are just brute facts. And, maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I think it is true. But surely you can't argue against it just by saying that without imagining that everything has a definite reason why it's true, then nothing can possibly have reasons at all.
Mm-hmm. I think the question that would jump out would be like, okay, if there are some things which...
What? I got killed by the Bastion. What? Wow, thanks. Wait. Thank you. God, I don't want to be friends with this guy. Why is he following me around?
Don't require an explanation. And there are some things that do require an explanation. Do we have an explanation why there are some set of things that need an explanation and some set that don't? Or is it this kind of arbitrary distribution? Because it feels weird to say that there's like a reason why this particular thing doesn't need a reason. You know what I mean?
I do, but by my hypothesis...
It has to be like with respect to... When we ask why, it's like with respect to another thing, even if we don't understand it, right? Like when somebody says like, how fast are you going in your car? And you say, officer, I'm going 50,000 miles an hour. I don't know how fast the earth spins. Like that is not like a false answer, but it's not really what he's asking, right? Or you give the speed of the earth circling the sun, or you give the speed of the solar system moving through the galaxy, or the speed of the galaxy flying. Like, what are you looking for? Like an ultimate speed from a universal frame of reference that can give us ultimately the answer? Like, that's not really, well, one, whether or not that even exists, I think most people would say no. So when you're looking for whys or reasons, usually it's within the context of some other thing that we understand, you know?
Says you don't need a reason why there is no reason for that. That's the joy of it. I think that this idea that there are reasons for things, which again, very often is true, but sometimes is not, goes back to Aristotle.
Hold on. Bro. I don't even have a good weapon for fighting. I didn't... Ah! Fuck, this guy's at like 1 HP too. Oh! I don't know who he meant to kill there. Well...
and other classical thinkers, and it made perfect sense in that world. But the world is different now because we understand it better. And in particular, it's not
he had
just
a heavy shield
that
too.
we have gotten rid of the principle of sufficient reason. We've replaced it with something called...
Wait, that guy had a heavy shield and a Pharaoh 1? What? Why? Oh no, maybe he recharged his shield, maybe, I think.
Laws of physics. Aristotle had no idea of what Newton would invent with classical mechanics or would later come on with relativity or quantum mechanics or whatever. There are laws of nature. And those laws, as far as we know, the correct laws, are never disobeyed. But why those laws rather than some others, maybe there's no explanation for that. So it's very, very far away from saying, oh, things just happen, you can't explain it, one thing after another. It's, no, things happen because the laws of physics say so, and they're extremely restrictive. Why these laws rather than some others might not be an answerable question.
True.
Now, okay, I hope you don't mind me sort of pressing a little bit on this because, gosh, I've been speaking to so many philosophers and scientists with all kinds of different views on the nature of science that I'm sort of left in a spin. And when I hear someone say the laws of physics, it's this sort of philosophical buzzword because this terminology of law is kind of borrowed from like legal history, right? We've got this sort of set of rules that you have to follow, right? Whereas I'm kind of tempted to say that it's not that things don't fall to the ground because of the law of gravity, but rather we have a law of gravity because things fall to the ground. In other words, the laws are descriptive rather than prescriptive. But it sounds like if the laws of physics are to like replace this principle of sufficient...
Well, definitionally, they're descriptive, right? Because we can't make new laws. We only observe them and then describe them, right?
Reason, it sounds like you give the laws of physics this ontological status of being these like things which exist prior to the observations that they sort of, have this grip on. Like, do you think that the laws of physics, like, what do you think is like their nature? Do they sort of exist somewhere out there? Are they like written into the rule book? Like, how do you think about what a law is?
This is exactly a well-debated point in the philosophy of science about Humeanism versus anti-Humeanism concerning the laws of nature. I think that, going back to Aristotle or maybe even to Newton, there was this default assumption that if there were laws of physics, they governed the behavior. It's a governing conception of laws, where the laws of physics really bring into existence what happens next from what's happening now. Whereas Hume comes along and says something exactly like what you just said. What really exists are a bunch of things, doing things at different moments of time. There's an apple, it's fallen to the ground. Okay. And we invent these ways of describing what happened. And so I don't say, and I'm entirely in favor of that perspective. I think that's the right way to think about the laws of physics. They are descriptive of what happens in what is called the Humean mosaic, the set of everything that happens in the world. And they're very, very compact descriptions. You don't need to say force equals mass times acceleration separately for every object in the universe. You just say it once, and it's going to be of universal applicability. So I wouldn't say that the laws govern what happens or even the laws explain what happens. I would say the laws describe what happens. The fact that there are laws that are apparently never violated means that things are not going to pop randomly into existence. What's going to happen next is whatever the laws of physics say. But the laws of physics are patterns in the universe. They are not forces that bring things into existence. And as far as we know, once we discover the fundamental laws of physics, which maybe we're close to, maybe we're far away from, we have no idea, those will be brute facts. They may have been some other way, but here's how they turn out to be.
Mm-hmm. And I think we're sort of talking here, or skirting around the edges of this idea of where these laws came from, and maybe where they came from, or the reason that they are as they are is a kind of brute fact. But that question will seemingly be tied up to like the origin of the universe, right? Because people kind of think that for there to be laws of physics, there need to be things for them to describe, and the stuff that is described by the laws of physics would have began if and when the universe began. And yet some physicists talk as though the laws of physics will one day explain or describe the origin of the universe. Some people sort of have this optimism that science will get there, will be able to describe the origin of the universe, and yet if all science really is in terms of the laws that it concocts is just a description of things within the universe, is that a sort of mistaken folly?
Well, it depends on exactly what you're looking for. If you're looking for a description of the first moment of time in the history of the universe, there's no reason why science couldn't in principle provide that. That's what science does. It provides a description of what happened in the universe. We don't know whether there was a first moment of time or not. Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. But either way, there's absolutely zero obstacle to a complete scientific description of it. If what you want, because you have some internalized need for an explanation why the universe came into existence at all, science is not going to be able to give you that. Science describes what actually happened.
And do you think that's then just the role of philosophy? Or do you think it's like just an unanswerable question?
I don't think it's a well-formed question. When you ask why is it true, you're presuming
I think so much of so much of philosophy seems to be, or not philosophy, pop philosophy, or difficult questions are really just ill-formed questions. And if you tease apart the language a little bit more, or if you really try to understand conceptually what it is you're asking, sometimes the answer is a bit more apparent. This is why I know the answer to every philosophical problem. This is already partially damaged. Oh, maybe it got struck by lightning?
There is a reason why it is true, but you have to be open to the possibility that some questions, some things that happen do not have reasons why. And again, maybe the set of things for which there are no reasons why is very, very tiny, and we should keep looking. I'm all in favor of looking for explanations for everything we can hope to explain. What we don't get to do is demand ahead of time that a certain phenomenon has a particular explanation rather than just being the way things are.
Yeah, I think maybe one of the reasons why most physicists that I've spoken to at least don't agree with that is because it seems like the whole philosophy undergirding science in the first place is the expectation that there will be explanations for things, that there will be reasons why things had happened. Like if we just thought that there were, even like sometimes, that there were some things that just happened with no reason, it sort of seems to cut against the philosophy of that motivates science in the first place, which is
I think that cuts against literally everything. I think presuppositional to every single form of philosophy, form of logics, form of everything, there has to be like causality, no? I think, doesn't everybody accept that?
Discovery of the reasons behind the universe, right? But I suppose you don't need to abandon that entirely just for a small set of things.
Well, I think we're mixing up two very different things here. I think that it's very plausible the laws of nature or the laws of physics are inviolate, that they're never violated, that things never happen randomly in apparent contradiction to what the laws of physics would have predicted. That's very different than saying that the laws of physics themselves are not explained by something deeper. I think that the set of things that happen obeying the laws of physics is a perfectly respectable expectation. Maybe it's not true. Maybe we'll have to update someday. But I see no reason to think that anything that ever happened in the universe violated the laws of physics. physics, which would be what you need to have happen if you want to say something just happened with no explanation in the sense of the prior state and the laws of physics. But that can't be the explanation for the laws of physics themselves. It's a different kind of question, and we have to be open to those different kinds of questions, maybe not having the same old kind of answers.
One question I'd be curious how he would answer is, I wonder if sometimes I wonder about the constraints of the human mind. Like, are there answers to questions that the human mind literally is just incapable of understanding? So, like, there are some things that are, there are some forms of understanding the human minds are granted a priori of any other experience. So like one basic thing would be like non-contradiction or whatever, right? A thing can't possess mutually exclusive contradictory properties or whatever. Like a thing can't be both taller and shorter than something else, or a thing can't both exist and not exist or something, right? What if this is a thing that in the universe it could be the case that this happens, but we just can't fathom it, right? Which is, I don't know if there's a good reason to assume that that's an impossibility, but because of how humans reason their way to things, is it possible that we could stumble onto things like that, but then just never realize it? So, for instance, if when Sean says, when Sean just said there that if something happens that violates whatever laws of physics or whatever, basically we just kind of like we keep exploring, we keep trying to find something more fundamental. If it were the case that we were to discover something that contradicted what we understand to be like causal relationships between things or whatever, I don't think we would ever accept that answer. The assumption would always just be, well, there must be a deeper explanation, but maybe we actually never, ever, ever find that explanation. And we just assume there must be one, but there isn't one, but we assume there's one because it's the only thing that the human mind can fathom, you know, maybe? I don't know.
Back to the show in just a moment, but first, if you watch my channel regularly, you'll know that for some time now, I've been recommending a way to deal with bias in news media. Bias is obviously a huge problem, and it's never going to go away, but there is a tool that we can use to navigate the online media space and objectively compare the way that different sources report on the same story. And that tool is today's sponsor, Ground News. Ground News aggregates thousands of local and international news outlets all in one place, so you can compare reporting across the political spectrum. Try it out at ground.news/AlexOC. Did you know that NASA is planning to have a nuclear reactor on the moon by 2030?
What?
If you only read left-leaning news, you might not. Using Ground News, I can see that of all the sources reporting on this story,
Also,
only
no way.
11% of them lean to the left. And Ground News even has a dedicated blind spot tab, which specifically seeks out stories that you don't want off their unlimited access Vantage plan. That said, back to the show. So, I know you know about the fine-tuning argument for the existence of God, and I don't want to just do the boring thing of just asking you exactly what you think about that, but specifically, when people talk about this, the problem that we're confronted with is that the universe abides by a certain number of constants which seem very, very finely balanced, to the degree that if you were to increase gravity or its strength by like the most unfathomably tiny amount, the universe would all collapse in on itself, and the reverse is true as well. And so we're kind of typically given three options here to explain why it is that the universe is finely balanced to allow atoms to form and planets and stars and stuff. One is it's just by chance, which seems incredibly unlikely. One is that God did it, which seems maybe a bit too easy.
Fuck. There's so many more interesting things I feel like you could talk about philosophically with him than just the God thing, but because I don't know, maybe just because I used to be an atheist. You run through all the like responses to these things so often.
And the third is necessity, that there's some kind of reason why it had to be that way, or maybe not a reason why it had to be that way, but it just had to be that way. Is the version of the sort of description of the laws of physics that you're describing here a version of this necessity route of saying, without sort of any reason why, they kind of just had to be the way they are? Or is it more like a chance direction where you say it's...
Like his phrasing there, things had to be the way they are. Well, what do you mean by that? Do you mean... Because it is true that things had to be the way they are for human life to form. That is true. But what a lot of people don't consider is, well, they could have been another way in which human life wouldn't have formed. Like, that's possible. It just didn't happen, And even if it is, like, incredibly low or rare or whatever, just because a thing happened that might be incredibly unlikely doesn't mean there was a reason, right? Like every time you shuffle a deck of cards, it's probably a unique arrangement of that pair of cards because there's so many cards when you shuffle them, the probabilities are massive, are astronomical. But if you shuffle a deck of cards and then it turns out a certain way, like it's not like it had to be that way, but the chances of it being that way are incredibly rare. But it could have been another way. But I mean, obviously we don't see that because this is the only universe we live in now. So to assume that a thing wound up a certain way because it had to, well, it had to for life to exist, but I mean, life could just not exist, but then we wouldn't be around here to fathom that or think about it,
Kind of just by chance, but the fact that it did happen this way, despite the odds, requires no no explanation? Like, which of those sort of categories do you sort of fit into? I know it's not the God one.
Well, I think that two things. One is you left off a very promising explanation, which is the multiverse, where different parts of the universe have apparently different values for the constants, and therefore we're going tautologically to find ourselves in a part of the universe which has conditions accessible to life, right? I mean, there was never any chance that we would be having this conversation in a part of the universe which did not allow for the existence of life.
Yeah.
So really the only question is the universe...
Oh, fuck. Like, you could draw like, like, you could draw like a... No, what would it be? I'm trying to think of how you do this. Like 500 ships are escaping an island and only one ship makes it to shore or whatever. And like the people on that one boat are like, wow, like, you know, it really only could have ever been this way or whatever, ignoring the 499 that didn't make it. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, you could have just as easily been on one of those, but you wouldn't be having the conversation, you know, because you would just be dead. Damn, who's fighting in there?
Universe big and diverse enough to allow for life anywhere, or did we just get lucky, like you said? I don't think that there's much sensible to be said about the option that you painted as some necessity for things to be one way versus another. I don't think that makes any sense. Like I said, I think that things could very easily have been otherwise. I think that the most likely explanation for the apparent fine-tuning of constants of nature is some kind of diversity within the environments that exist within our universe. It might be literally the cosmological multiverse, where you have regions very far away where conditions are different. It might be something more subtle in the space of quantum worlds, in a many worlds version of quantum mechanics or something like that. But that seems to be a very simple way out of the apparent fine-tuning questions. And it wouldn't be at all associated with some necessity for it to have been that way. It's literally the opposite. It's saying elsewhere it's not that way at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, the reason I leave that out of the three options is because I see any kind of multiverse explanation as a version of the chance thing. Like, yes, it is exceedingly unlikely that the constants would be as they are, but there are exceedingly many incarnations of this universe, and so of course one of them is going to be finely tuned, and that's the one that we're going to find ourselves in. So I kind of see it as a version of the chance argument. But theists will hear you say that, and in the way that we might look to a theist and say, well, you're just kind of trying to explain away a difficult scientific problem by saying God did it. Are we here just trying to sort of explain away a difficult problem by saying that there's a multiverse? Or are there other independent reasons to already suppose?
Oh, but you can point... Doesn't the big... Fuck me, dude. I feel like we did one chapter of like quantum mechanics stuff in physics, so I have no formal background of this. And when people talk about QM and they don't know anything about QM, it's ultra cringe every time. Doesn't the... if we're looking at for like evidence of many worlds or whatever, wouldn't you argue that like the dual slit experiment is kind of like what points you in that direction? So you have like at least some experimental, evidence for this idea, whereas for theists, it's literally just like LOL memes or whatever, you know?
Is that there might be such a thing?
So I think a couple things. One is I would vastly prefer to separate the two possibilities, one of which is there's a multiverse and the different constants of nature appear different locally in different regions, and therefore, by a selection effect, we find ourselves in a region that is hospitable to life, versus a thing that says there's just one universe and we just got lucky, that the parameters of that universe allow for the existence of life. Those are two very different scenarios, and I wouldn't want to conflate them together. I certainly don't think, and then the question, are we just sort of doing just the same thing that the theists do by invoking some mechanism to explain these apparent fine-tunings? I think that there's two things going wrong with that. One is there's nothing wrong with invoking mechanisms to explain things you see about the universe. That's what science does. That's how you invent scientific theories. You try to fit the data by proposing a hypothesis or a model that accounts for that data. And if the data include the fact that the energy density of empty space or something like that could have been very different, but is just right for allowing for the existence of complex structures that physically transmit and...
The double slit experiment just to show that photons have wave-like behavior. I'm trying to think of what the wave-particle duality meme was, but I thought the huge implication from the double slit experiment is that a photon passing through, a single photon that passes through either of one of two slits. I can't explain this without getting pain out. I don't want to do this, but basically, it's meme shit. I'm not getting pain out. Fuck you.
Process information in a way that we recognize as being characteristic of intelligent life. Those are data that we should use in constructing our theories. And the other is that, as you hinted at the end there, indeed, we have reasons that have nothing to do with explaining fine-tuning for expecting that there is some kind of multiverse out there. The reasons are not airtight. We really don't know for sure, but both from cosmology, inflation, string theory, all these speculative cutting-edge ideas, and from quantum mechanics, like we said, the many worlds formulation of quantum theory, we get a multiverse out of theories that were invented for completely different reasons. They were not invented to get you a multiverse, but you try to follow and take seriously their implications, and you find that there is one out there. Very, very different than the story with theism. Let's just put it that way.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. But then, how much stock do you place in the theistic explanation for fine-tuning here? In other words, is it sort of like, that's nonsense because we have this other explanation, or is it like, no, this fine-tuning problem does increase my credence in the existence of God. It is a sort of viable option for me. It's just like it doesn't compare to the scientific explanation. Like, where do you sort of place it on that level of convincingness?
My usual line is that I think that the fine-tuning argument for the existence of God is the best argument that people have for the existence of God. But it's a terrible argument. It's really not very good at all. And for various reasons, I'll just mention two of them very quickly. One is that the fact that the physical constants of nature are fine-tuned really means the following thing. It means that they take on values that allow for the existence of physical configurations of matter that behave like living creatures, right? We metabolize, we reproduce, we process information, like we said, all of while obeying the laws of physics in a way that wouldn't have been possible if the various constants of nature were very different than they are right now.
Yeah, what the CMO guy said was, I think, the huge mindfuck thing about the double slit experiment. A single photon produces a wave interference distribution in a double slit, if not scattered by a photon first, rather than a constant distribution. I didn't learn about that until like recently, though. I always thought it was like the wave particle duality meme or whatever the fuck. Or I guess I just didn't understand that. But I think that was the big implication of that, right?
Now, that is exactly what you would expect if God didn't exist. That's what you expect under naturalism. That if you want to have life in a naturalistic cosmology, you better have some complex information processing systems, and the constants of nature better allow for those. If God...
True. Okay, sorry, hold on. Careful, I'm retarded. Don't use this in your science class. I don't remember the series of experiments that led to this, but the idea is that if you have a light here, or photons here, and then you have a light here and photons here, you have like your constructive and destructive interference patterns, right? So if you fire through two of these things, the way that the waves interact with each other, what you create is you create an interference pattern where if you fire two beams of light here, they will, like, you'll see the things gather here and here. I don't know what that actually fucking looks like. Okay, suck my dick. But it's like, oh, this is an interference pattern because both of these waves they're causing interference with each other. You're firing them through here at the exact same time, and they cause this interference pattern, okay? Which is like, yeah, makes sense. We would get that, right? You fire the two lights or whatever. But the many worlds thing, so the way that I guess learned this, the quote-unquote interesting thing, when people say, I don't know if this what is meant when they say wave particle duality or whatever, but it's the idea that like when you fire a photon through here, well, it still has a wave-like presence or whatever. However, you measure it as soon as it makes contact here, and then the wave function collapses or some bullshit like that. But I think what the really interesting thing, though, is that if you have these slits and you're firing one photon at a time, and it could go through either of these slits, if you're firing one photon at a time, the photon, even if it's a single one, still has both of these wave interference patterns happening, and will create the exact same interference pattern here. So if it hasn't been measured, and the photon could travel through either one of these, a single photon produces an interference pattern that you would classically only expect with a single, or I'm sorry, with a continuous beam of light or whatever, right? A single photon will produce its own interference pattern, which is like, well, what is actually happening there? That's, yeah. Because my other understanding is like, okay, well, wave functions and all that are obviously retarded. I'm sure the photon is actually somewhere, right? You just have to measure it, and that's like this is a retarded question, right? You just have to measure it. It's actually somewhere. But then the question I think is kind of like, well, maybe the wave function is reality, and you can actually, not only is it like probabilistically in one of these places, it's actually behaving as though it's in all of these places probabilistically, that it's having this effect on itself. And then you can expand this. Well, imagine that these things were so huge that it wasn't just a single photon. What if it was a whole atom going through, or so huge that it was a person going through? And you could theoretically blow out a wave function to where everything is theoretically happening at all points in time until a wave function collapse happens, whatever bullshit is. Yeah, but that idea of like multiple worlds potentially emerging because even a single photon will cause an interference pattern with itself as though a continuous beam of light was shown through two slits is like a kind of a mindfucky thing, I think. What does it mean for a wave function to collapse? Is it when two particles interact with each other that are outside of the wave function? But then you can also describe the new interaction as like part of a wave function as well. Technically, I think everything can be a wave function. The whole universe is a single wave function theoretically or whatever, but I don't know. That's something beyond me.
Exists, you don't need that. God can make anything alive because God is God. I think a lot of theists really undersell God's ability to do things. I mean, generally, they believe that, many of them believe that there is life after death that doesn't involve physical stuff or fine-tuning at all. So if anything, the observation that the constants of nature are fine-tuned to allow for the existence of physical configurations of complex adaptive matter is evidence that should increase your credence in naturalism, not theism. And the other objection is that exactly because the fine-tuning argument is the best possible argument. Why is that? It's because it plays by the rules of scientific investigation. It says, here's a data point. I'm going to try to invent a theory that explains this data point. I am going to judge my theories using Bayesian reasoning. I'm going to calculate a likelihood. I'm going to say, what would the likelihood of the universe looking like this be under this particular theory? And then we'll compare it to the data. And you can do that for, I'm certainly happy to agree that the likelihood that the parameters of nature would allow for life would be large under theism. I think that's okay. But there's a whole bunch of other things you can ask. Should we expect the universe to look this way if theism were true? And there's a whole bunch of other features of the universe that we would not expect. Like just the fact that it's big, the fact that there's 100 billion or 1 trillion galaxies in our observable universe. That's not what you would expect under theism, and especially the idea that human beings are somehow special in God's eyes. Now, you can say, well, maybe the whole universe is special in God's eyes, and maybe we can accommodate and expect that exactly this kind of universe is what God would have made. But too late, because you had the chance. For a very, very long time, cosmologically, we had no knowledge of the fact that there were extra galaxies out there, that the universe was big, that there was a Big Bang, or any of those things. You could easily have used your theory of theism to predict that would probably be what the universe is like, and nobody did. So you can't claim now that's exactly what you would have expected under theism.
That's a great point. Is that it does seem a bit sort of, shall we say, post hoc.
A little bit.
It's not strictly speaking, like irrational. If you're a theist and you're confronted with this problem of a big universe, it's not enough to make you into an atheist. But to say, no, this is how God would have done it. It's like easy to say now. My friend Phil Halper likes to point out that the early Christian Gnostics who believed in like the evil demiurge, creator of the material universe, that the fine-tuning argument kind of fits better with that because you've got these like meta conditions which make it really, really difficult.
Fuck. Is this whole thing just the religion thing?
To bring about a material world, and yet it comes about, implying that sort of the true creator of everything, the source of all being, really doesn't want the material world to exist. But this sort of evil, trickster comes in and just sets things up just right. That the fine-tuning argument kind of points a lot more strongly to something like that than it does to the God of traditional theism.
Yeah, and I think the way... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
I was just going to say the theists in the modern world are pushed to invent a version of God who wants to be completely invisible, right?
So I said, you cannot pinpoint the exact location of an electron until you measure or observe it, and until then, you could say that the electron is everywhere, all at once, in all possible positions. Therefore, quantumly, you could say the whole universe could be in every possible position all at once. Therefore, we live in a multiverse. Yeah, sure. But then I think... I don't know if this distinction even matters. Like, in my mind, the wave function isn't real. It's just saying probable. It's like me making a guess. Like, there's a 50% chances in there, 25% chances in there, 25% chances in there. But in reality, like, a ball is going to be in one box, right? Like, it feels like in the quantum world, imagine I have two boxes, and there's a 5-pound weight in one box, and there's nothing in the other box. Well, one box will weigh 5 pounds and the other box will weigh 0 pounds. But with the way the dual slit experiment works, it seems like quantum mechanics describes the universe as there's a 5-pound thing in one box, a 0-pound thing in one box. Maybe when you go to measure it, there will be, but until then, both boxes will weigh 2.5 pounds, which is kind of mindfucky, which doesn't, like, from just a human logic understanding point, doesn't really seem to make sense. Because it's like, does it exist at all? Or did it ever exist? Or what's actually happening in terms of how they're interacting with each other is just kind of weird. I shouldn't say kind of weird. That's not very descriptive, but
who wants the world just to act according to the laws of physics. And then you have to invent a reason why, oh no, God would have wanted to do it that way so that we would have no idea that God actually existed. It would be very, very trivially easy for God to let us know that God existed. Again, he's God. He can do anything he wants. There's many different versions of the universe that would fit really well into a theistic explanation and not so much into a naturalistic explanation. To be forced into the corner where, yeah, it looks like our universe always obeys the laws of physics and is governed by purely materialistic rules, but God would have wanted that way is a little bit of a post hoc cop-out.
Okay, so I've got two philosophical questions for you, since this
Only
is a
two?
philosophy show, although you struggle to believe it, the number of scientists I've been speaking to recently. The first is that you said earlier that you don't believe in the principle of sufficient reason. That is, you think that there are things that can occur without any explanation or justification. And that satisfies you to think maybe the universe's existence and the nature of the laws are just a brute fact. If somebody's listening and they do believe in the principle of sufficient reason, and they do think that everything requires an explanation or some justification, again, not to say that we would need to know what it is, but just that there is some reason why everything that happens. For someone who does believe in the PSR, do you think they have good reason to believe in some kind of theistic picture, that there must be a sort of unmoved mover holding everything in place? Or would you still, if you woke up tomorrow like Bertrand Russell, by Jove, the principle of sufficient reason is sound, would you still be satisfied in your atheism?
Well, I think that the principle of sufficient reason relates to theism in a very well-known traditional way that is pretty obviously a cop-out, like we were just talking about. The whole argument for the existence of God based on PSR types of reasoning says, for everything that's a true fact about the universe, there must be a reason. But there's this large number of things that is true about the universe. Therefore, we don't want to get into an infinity of explanations. The reason for X is Y, and the reason for Y is Z, and just go down in an infinite regress. Somehow that bothers us. Maybe you could just accept that. I don't know. But somehow that bothers us. Therefore, there must be a single thing, an entity, that is necessary, that is the grounding, the explanation for all of these other things. But of course, what you just did is contradict the very first assumption you made. You just said that for everything that has to exist, there has to be a reason why it exists, except for this special thing that I know about. And its only reason for existing is it had to necessarily exist. And that's a very hard argument to counter, not because it's good, but because the only counter is, no, it didn't. I can imagine universes where God doesn't exist. There's no necessary thing there. You invented a reason to make him exist, and I don't need to accept your reason.
Okay, so second philosophical question, which is slightly different, and a little bit tangential in the fact that, in the sense that it's kind of an ethical question, which is, you probably...
Veritasium did a great vid on how all particles take all possible paths to reach their destination. I think I watched that before. I think that was off stream. We watched one on stream, though, that was also really weird, about a guy shining like a laser at a thing, and you can see the other paths that the light can take. But I would have to rewatch these like probably over and over again, because I don't, just in my mind, I can't intuit anything related to quantum mechanics. It's none of it intuitively makes very much sense to me, so I have to like sit and like really think about. That's the same one? Oh, is it the guy shining the laser on the thing? Is it the same video? Oh, maybe it is not.
Probably sometimes asked whether your scientific and philosophical views affect the way that you live your life. But specifically here, take the multiverse, right? If I'm to believe that there are a sort of near infinite number of universes, and it depends on what kind of multiverse you're talking about, but suppose there's a version of the multiverse which says that if in one universe, I turn left, there's another universe in which I turn right, and every single possible outcome occurs. Every time there's a quantum decision to be made, two realities spring off. Then, over the entire picture of reality and the entire multiverse, it seems as though all behaviors and actions kind of balance out. Like anything I do in this universe is balanced out by something in a different universe. I suppose my ethical view is, broadly speaking, that we should minimize suffering as much as we can. Maybe I'm like a utilitarian. Doesn't this lead us to a pretty radical conclusion, which is that if I want to minimize suffering, there's no reason why I should only want to minimize suffering in my universe. And I want suffering to be minimized overall, but I've realized that if I'm really good and I give to charity in this universe, there's another universe in which I'm really evil and cause lots of suffering. And overall, because it all balances out, the amount of pleasure and suffering will be constant. So why not, in this universe, just cause as much suffering as I can and just be evil and selfish and terrible, because I know that it will be balanced out by a universe somewhere else, if that makes sense.
It does. I think that would be a perfectly valid way of reasoning if your physical theory was that every possible universe happens, and it happens with sort of equal probability somewhere. But nobody has a physical theory like that. In the real physical theories of the origin of the multiverse, number one, it's not that everything happens. Some things happen, some things don't. Many things happen, but some things just don't happen. The most obvious, blatant example is electrical charge is always conserved. A negative electric charge never turns into a positive electric charge anywhere in the multiverse, as far as we can currently tell. And likewise, there's plenty of other things that just have zero probability of happening, despite the fact that many things do happen. The other is that, and much more importantly, when there are different things that happen in different universes, there are different probabilities you attach to them. They're not all created equal. So people ask me about being a utilitarian in the many worlds formulation of quantum mechanics. I say it's the same as being a utilitarian in any theory where there are some probabilities for things happening or not. If you say there's a 1 in 100 chance something happens, and you use that probability to maximize your expected utility, given that there be certain utility in the one universe and in the 1% and a certain other utility in the 99%, that's the same as saying there's one universe in which the bad thing happens and 99 in which the good thing happens, at least as far as the math is concerned. So I think that morality is more or less completely unchanged. I think there's one mistake you could make by thinking that I just add up the utility of all the universes without taking probability into account. And then if you thought that the universe existing was overall a good thing, your moral righteousness would be maximized by splitting the wave function of the universe as quickly as you could into many, many different copies of the universe. But nobody in their right mind really believes that. You take the average in all these universes, and that means that you just act the same way you thought you should.
I'm a little bit confused about how
I'm
the
fucking
probabilistic distribution of different universes concords with the existence of human free will. I don't think that free will exists. You do?
I'm a compatibilist like most philosophers.
Yeah, okay. And so I suppose, maybe, I guess, under compatibilism, you would just think that this probabilistic distribution does apply to our actions, and our actions are kind of determined, but you have like a conception of freedom that works with that. Like, you're not a libertarian, like free will proponent, in other words.
So the existence of quantum probabilities has absolutely nothing to do with you making choices, will, for or against.
It's such a
the whole
stupid...
idea of compatibilism vis-a-vis free will. The word compatibilism means compatibilism between our ordinary conceptions of ability to choose and
the laws
deterministic underlying laws. Those are the two things that are supposed to be compatible. So adding a little stochastic element to the underlying laws neither increases or decreases our compatibilist free will. Just the fact that the laws of physics have probabilities in them doesn't mean that you are overriding the laws of physics to exert your will upon the universe. If what you mean by free will is some kind of libertarian ability to override the laws of physics, I don't believe in that, and very few people do believe in that. Very few professional scientists or philosophers do. If what you mean by free will is the ability to make choices at the emergent level of human beings, where I'm not Laplace's demon, I don't know the microstate of every particle in my body or anything like that, that's perfectly compatible with the microscopic laws, whether or not they're fully deterministic.
And can we just help to clear up what I think might be a common misconception, at least about your view, when it comes to probability? Because on the macro level, at least, when I talk about probability, I'm usually talking about epistemic probability. Like if I flip a coin, and I've got it under my hand, and I say, what's the probability that it's heads? You want to say about 50%. But really, like, it's either heads or tails, and if it's heads, it's 100% heads, right? The fact that I look at it, it's like, oh, it's 50% chance of being heads, and then I look at it, and suddenly it's 100% chance of being heads, just by me looking at it. No, clearly I'm talking about the probability in terms of what I can know, like my epistemic probability. But the actual probability that it's head or tails is like 100% one way or the other. And so a lot of the time when we talk about probability, we're really just talking about the fact that we don't know which way something's going to go, but there is like 100% chance it will go one way or the other. But your view is that probability that isn't just epistemic, like actual probability, is built into the foundations of the universe, right?
Not really. I think my view is that you shouldn't use phrases like actual probability. I think that the only probability that exists are subjective probabilities. Probability is always a measure of our ignorance of the universe. There is a universe. The universe is what it is. It is, as in my favorite view of fundamental physics, it is purely deterministic in its evolution. There's nothing that we couldn't in principle predict if we knew everything about the current state. But we don't know the current state. We don't know the laws of physics. We don't know lots of microscopic information about what's happening inside this room. So there's lots of things we don't know about the past, present, future, the situation, a whole bunch of things. We deal with that by assigning probabilities to them. If you were an omnipotent and omniscient being, you would not use the concept of probability. You would just say what happens in the universe. And the same thing is true for quantum probabilities. In particular, in the many worlds approach to quantum mechanics, the future evolution of the quantum...
Representative Ilhan Omar assaulted in a courthouse, state house? Wait, this ad just popped up. Can't wait for Donald Trump to denounce the violence. Assaulted by protester at town hall meeting.
Ash knows your work. It keeps everything connected so you can build on what's working instead of
Yes.
starting from scratch.
Hell yeah.
Package final deliverables into stacks. Clean visual hubs you can share with your
So
team.
clean.
Focus on your work, not your workflow.
Yes.
With Dash.
Awesome.
And DHS Secretary Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment. I don't know.
What the fuck? This lady's crazy. Holy shit. She looked like she was about to beat his ass.
Must resign or face impeachment.
That's crazy. Jesus.
No, we will continue. No. Johan, you need to go get checked. No, we will continue. These fucking assholes are not going to get away with it. You need to go get checked. No, I don't know what That's whatever it is smells so bad. She needs to go get checked.
By the way, if that was Donald Trump, there would be 4 trillion conservative drooling semen out of their mouths from all their home-bought Trump special semen kits. They'd be drooling about how the next election is over. The next election is over. Oh my, it's over now. Notice how he fearlessly walked towards the person, didn't even care. Notice how he didn't even flinch. Like, it would be over, but no one will give a fuck about this.
Quantum state of the universe is 100% deterministic. But what will happen is you will get different measurement outcomes in different branches of the wave function of the universe, which we interpret as different worlds. And when you get them, when you say like, oh, I measured a particle to be spinning clockwise versus counterclockwise, there's a moment when you don't know which branch you're on. You know, if you know the wave function of the universe, that there is one branch where it's clockwise, another branch where it's counterclockwise, but you don't know which one you're on. So guess what? You assign a probability. You have a credence for being on one branch or the other. And that's the nature of all probability as far as I can tell. And it's a very sensible, unified picture. Again, it rubs some people the wrong way because they don't want it to be like that. Never promised you a rose garden. Sorry.
No, I'm glad to hear that because I'm in complete agreement. And I don't know why I thought we might disagree there. But yeah, I mean, it's like if you're... I guess one way of thinking of it is like if you get on an aeroplane and it's either going to Los Angeles or it's going to Chicago, and you sort of wake up on the plane and you don't know which plane you're on, you might say, gosh, I've got a 50% chance of being on a plane to Los Angeles. It's like, no, you don't. Like, you're definitely 100% going one way or the other. What you're describing is just that you don't know. And when someone tells you, all you're doing, you're not collapsing a probability distribution that's built into the universe. You're just finding out which of the airplanes you're on. And similarly, when you...
Well, how is this might be just a retarded question to ask and expect a simple answer to. What is there... Do we have a explanation for why a single photon creates an interference pattern with itself that doesn't invoke infinite universes or whatever? What is the explanation for that? Yes, but you need to ask Forsen. Okay. Will do.
Find out what happened in some quantum event, you're not actually collapsing some real probabilistic cloud of maths. You're just finding out which sort of branch of reality you're on. I have a whole podcast with David Deutsch on the sort of quantum, many worlds, multiverse type stuff if people are interested, but I think that's a really helpful picture. You used a term a moment ago, which I want to ask you about. You said, if we're talking about something like human beings as emergent, like or like the emergent level of human beings, what does that mean?
Well, what it means is that we think that there's a way of describing the world, which is the level of fundamental physics. Quantum field theory, particles, atoms, electric fields, quarks, all that stuff. That's a language to describe the world, which is very, very effective, very, very comprehensive. And I could describe the room I'm sitting in right now, in principle, at that level. I could tell you exactly what quantum fields were involved, what their configurations, their quantum states were, all that stuff. But I don't know that. I don't know all that information. There's like a huge number of quantum particles.
He doesn't know everything.
I don't know the locations.
Can't name all the quantum particles
of all of them, or how they fit together, any of that stuff. Am I therefore totally lost?
Yep.
No. There is a way to describe very effectively, very usefully, what is happening in the world based on dramatically incomplete information.
Bro,
by
fuck
bundling
off.
up a bunch of these microscopic degrees of freedom into macroscopic objects. I can talk about a table and a computer and a microphone and books behind me and all these things. None of those words exist in the fundamental description of nature, and yet they're incredibly informative. I understand the causal powers and the relationships between all these objects that are emergent objects at the macro level. That you could have multiple nested macro levels if you want, but we're skipping right from particles and atoms all the way up to people and tables and chairs and things like that. It's a remarkable feature of the world that we can describe it very accurately, very informatively, based on a tiny, tiny fraction of the microscopic information that's actually there. But we all use that. And maybe what we think of now as fundamental is not fundamental, and there's something even deeper than that. So the fact that the world appears to us as multiple listed emergent levels of description is incredibly useful for getting through the day and dealing with what happens in the world.
Now, I agree with that. And I want to talk about this concept of emergence. And I suppose the question to ask is, do you think that emergence, that is, like stuff that kind of comes out at a higher level when you put smaller, more foundational stuff together and you get kind of new stuff emerging, is that a feature of the universe and the things within it, or is it a feature of our descriptions, right? Because if I've got, a bunch of people, if I've got like 22 people stood on a field, and I just sort of mentally group them into two teams, and I start talking about like football teams, and you've got this sort of...
Remember, when he says football, he's talking about soccer, not real manly football. Don't forget that.
Emergent concept of a football team, which emerges from the individual players on the pitch. It doesn't feel like the universe is actually doing anything there. It feels like I'm just kind of applying a description that's useful for me to sort of navigate the world. But then sometimes people talk about emergence as not just a descriptive thing. I mean, a popular example is something like the wetness of water or temperature emerging from vibrating atoms because the temperature, an individual atom isn't hot, that kind of thing. When you talk about emergence, do you think that like real emergence exists? There's a sort of better philosophical terminology here, strong and weak or whatnot, but you get what I'm driving at. Or do you think it is just a descriptive thing that humans are doing?
I think it's 100% real. I think it's 100% objective fact about the universe. And indeed, Daniel Dennett, who was a great philosopher who thought about these things, coined the phrase real patterns in a famous paper he wrote to describe exactly this phenomenon. Like we said, like I emphasized in talking about emergence, the feature of emergence that is relevant is that the higher level emergent things are described on the basis of wildly incomplete information. Take the air in this room. We can describe it using its temperature, its density, its velocity, quantities like that. And there's a very, very specific procedure for forgetting the microscopic information. That is to say, to go from the microscopic description in terms of literal atoms and molecules moving around in different positions and different velocities, and averaging over them to define things like temperature and pressure and velocity of the air. If you did something else, if you did a different way of throwing away the microscopic information, you wouldn't get an emergent theory. Because the thing about the description of the air is that if you tell me the temperature and the pressure, etc., I can predict what's going to happen next, right? That's what weather forecasters and climatologists actually do. They do literally that. They don't care about atoms. They care about fluids and the atmosphere. But if you did your map from the microscopic theory to the macroscopic theory incorrectly, you would not get a theory that you could make any sense of at all. It would not give you the right information to predict what was going to happen next. So there's an objective fact about the world that I can ignore some pieces of information and still be able to make reliable predictions or accurate descriptions, which is very, very precious and not something that human beings just made up.
But I talked about a football team a moment ago, and I don't know your ontology of sports teams, but I kind of get the impression that a sports team isn't like a real thing. It's something that we've kind of mapped on to individual players. But I can also talk about a football team in the same kind of way that, a scientist might talk about weather or wind or air pressure or something, in that I could say, well, the team is playing very defensively. Or maybe you're the manager and you say, I need the team to be defensive in order to win the game. You don't actually even need to really understand what that would involve for individual players. All you need to know is what the team is doing. And so, there's sort of a truth of the matter. We can speak objectively and make predictions about who's going to win the game based on the behavior of the team without knowing the individual players' decisions. And yet I still want to say that this emergent sort of thing, the sports team,
feels less real than like an atom or something.
It's a
Why?
concept.
Why not just accept it? Why not just deal with the fact that you talk about tables and chairs and sports teams as real all the time?
Because I suppose I don't have the same kind of issue with recognizing, I suppose, that really when I talk about a table, I'm talking about a bunch of atoms that are arranged in the shape of a table that I put a label on.
But a team is like a bunch of atoms arranged in the shape of a bunch of humans that are on a team, right?
Of course, in my day-to-day sort of common experience, I don't speak like that, but I also don't, act as though it's made mostly of empty space. I know that that's true when I'm doing science, but it doesn't really inform the way that I sort of work on my sort of day-to-day life. Similarly, yeah, like, I mean, I talk about sports teams, I talk about nations. You know, I think that England exists. But if you ask me to precisely define, you know, what counts as England and why there's a particular barrier and whether it really exists and is it made out of the landmass, is it made out of, I would say, to be honest, I don't know. And really, it kind of doesn't exist. It's more a concept that I'm applying to a mix of geography and people and stuff like that. But I just, maybe it's like a point of intuition that I just don't think that the thing has this like ontological existence in the universe alongside things like
So you don't think
atoms.
that tables exist?
I do not. I'm what's known as a mereological nihilist.
Did they exist before we knew about atoms?
Well, okay, so this is where things get a bit complicated, because when in this conversation...
Not for me, they get complicated for you, because I think tables exist.
Well, I think, to be clear, right, I think tables exist in the sense that the thing that you are referring to when you say the word table exists. But in the same way, my favorite example to describe what I mean here is if I asked, like, do you think the left-hand side of this microphone exists? The answer is yes, the left-hand side of this microphone exists. But clearly it's like designation as a thing, the left hand as opposed to the right hand, is just a mental distinction, right? But if I said, you know, before we looked at the microphone, before we were here, did the left-hand side of the microphone exist? The answer is yes, because the thing I'm referring to now in our conversation did exist. But its distinction as like an ontological object that really exists in the world is still like mind-dependent. Does that make sense? Like I sort of see the sports team in the same way. Like, yeah, the sports team exists.
Well, why not the
but its
entire
designation
microphone,
as like
right?
a distinguishable object from other sports teams and that does stuff is still dependent on the mind. But the thing that I'm referring to is that concept, that collection of things, that set of players. Does that make sense?
I mean, I understand the point of view. I just don't see the attraction in it. I would just like to say that the left-hand side of the microphone and the table and the sports team, these are all real. And the reason why they're real is because talking about them provides us with useful causal information about how the world operates. If I said, oh, I spilled paint on the left-hand side of my microphone, I'm not sitting here thinking like, I have no idea what that means. What are these strange terms that he's using? Like, you've conveyed information to me. So that's my criterion for when something is a useful, really, truly existent concept at the higher emergent level.
So, and, you know...
I wonder how he would view, like, what about, like, relationship stuff? Or what about just, like, literally just concepts, I guess, versus physical things? So, like, say, like, so he'll say a table is real because you're conveying some useful information about the world. What about like capitalism? Is capitalism real? Or what about like, you know, like father-son? Like, is that relationship real? Like, I wonder if he treats any of these things like concepts or relational stuff, if it's all the same. I have no idea. I don't know what the answer is.
This is all in the service of trying to understand emergence, but we're slightly sidelining here, and I think it's really interesting.
Okay.
There is a problem with this view, in my view, which is that, I mean, you said that the reason why you want to be able to say that, you know, the left-hand side of the microphone exists or a sports team exists is because it's useful. I think it's true. It is useful to have those concepts. But I want to say that there are things that exist even if it's not useful to know that they exist. And there are things that don't exist even if it would be really useful that they did. And the problem to me with saying that, well, as long as in my head I put a box around those 11 players and call it a sports team, yeah, there's this real thing called a sports team. If I'm watching the game and I'm the only person in the arena who for some reason takes those 11 players on one side and then also takes the goalkeeper from the other team, and I just decide to like call it a new thing. I just say, oh, that's a sports team plus one. That's a new object that exists in the universe.
This feels like a private language thing.
I said, hey, there's this. I just created this new thing in the universe. It's called a sports team plus. He would say, you're clearly just making stuff up.
Oh, but if you communicate
maybe you want
to
to say, well,
somebody,
that wouldn't be a very useful category.
Oh, couldn't you argue that these categories exist right now? We call them fantasy sports teams. Isn't that kind of what they are? You pick or you create fictitious teams based on players or whatever. No.
Yeah, maybe it would be in some circumstances, but even if it's not useful, I can still do that. I can just arbitrarily... I said I'm a mereological nihilism. The radical opposite of this is mereological universalism, the view that every combination of objects does actually produce a new object. In other words, it seems to lead to my ability to say something like, okay, I'm just going to take this bust of Michelangelo's David that's behind me, and my left pinky, and the minute hand on the eastern face of Big Ben, and I'm going to say that is a new object, and I'm going to call it a globe. And that's a real thing that exists in the universe, that is emergent of those two things considered as a whole. But that would be insane. Not just because it's not useful, but also because it just doesn't seem like that's a real thing. You know what I mean? So how do you avoid that objection, that you sort of exploded the number of things that could possibly exist in the universe?
Yeah, because I don't think that anything that you can possibly group together counts as a really existing object. There are things that play causal roles in the world that, like I said, provide informative knowledge of what the world is doing. And I think that the example of the air in the room is really good. I get things like temperature and density and pressure by taking a small region of space, literal location in space, like here's a cubic millimeter, and I'm going to average, like how many particles are there, what's their density, things like that. It turns out, as a true fact that is not in any way a necessary fact, but a contingent fact about reality, that doing those little averages gives me a thing that exists in the sense that I can make predictions on the basis of its current state. If I had done the same thing averaging over squares or cubes in momentum space rather than physical space, I would get the same number of variables and I'd be able to predict nothing. It's useless. It's just like the glorb that you defined.
The glorb.
And all of this is discussed by Dennett in his paper on real patterns. There are some patterns that form sensible combinations of things at the emergent level and some that don't. And we kind of all know this because we refer to the world and have objects in it long before we know that they're made of lower level things. The emergent level has an autonomy of its own. This is Philip Anderson's point, the famous physicist, when he wrote the famous article, More is Different. You can study the higher level for its own sake. Like, you have freedom to define whatever you want, but that doesn't make it a good scientific description of the world.
I see. Okay, now I'll admit to you as well that in speaking about emergence and human beings as emergent, I have a slight vested interest, and there's a topic which you know I have to ask about, which is consciousness. And I suppose I want to begin by asking, do you consider yourself to be a materialist? I mean, I know that you're a physicalist about consciousness, but just like broadly speaking as a prior metaphysic, are you a materialist?
I prefer physicalist to materialist because I think that we've moved past the point in the history of our knowledge of the world where we say the world is made of materials. What the world is made out of is a little bit more abstract than that, but it is physical stuff doing physical things.
And I want to ask what is a deceptively difficult question, because people say to me sometimes, yeah, I'm a materialist. I believe the universe is just made out of material, or it's just made out of physical stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. What is that? What is physical stuff? What's the sort of operative definition that makes physicalism a definable worldview?
Well, there is absolutely a problem in physicalism, namely that we keep changing our best theories of physics, right?
Yeah.
Like you would have given a different answer in 1850 about what is the physical stuff that makes up the world as you would have in 1950, because we had revolutions and relativity and quantum mechanics and things like that. That's why I have sympathy for structural realism, that admits there is something out there that is real, but we don't know what it is for the final answer. What we know is that there are certain structural relations.
No. What? Hit the button? Okay. 1 minute, 17 seconds. I could kill all these people. No, they're all looted.
Oh, damn, dude.
Is he in? Can we pull it?
Just gotta find that last one, I guess. That sucks. A little bit. I think it's upstairs in the far right one. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I don't know. Good luck, bro. See you, man.
Fucking nerds.
Embedded in there, even as our ontology continues to improve along the way. Having said all that, I think that our best current answer to the question is that the world is a vector in Hilbert space, which is a fancy way of saying the world is described by a quantum state within the space of all possible quantum states. And we know a lot about what the mathematics of that involves. And I was cheeky enough to write a paper called, that everyone can look up online, called Reality as a Vector in Hilbert Space. It's not necessarily the final answer, but it's our best current answer. And that answer is very far away from the world of tables and chairs moving in three-dimensional space. And that's just a juicy scientific philosophical problem for us to connect the two, to reconcile the manifest image of the world with the scientific image of the world.
And to what degree do you think that, not just this view, but any scientific view, and I'm sort of throwing the Philip Goff line at you here, can really inform us about what stuff is, rather than just what it does? I mean, we talked about science being descriptive, as sort of coming up with laws that describe things that we observe. But if you're looking for what the stuff actually is, which when you say you've got a metaphysical position, I'm a physicalist, I believe the universe is made out of a particular kind of stuff, if the stuff that you describe is mostly described in terms of like something that occurs or a mathematical sort of formula or something, you're still left with this ontological gap of what the stuff is. Do you think that science can tell us what stuff is, or can it only ever really tell us what it does, to the extent that we'll never quite be able to like grasp the isness of whatever's down there at the foundation?
I don't think there's anything to be grasped. I don't think there's any answer to the question, what is it, aside from how does it behave and how does it interact with other things? I think the world, the universe, reality is sui generis. We have to occasionally throw in some Latin in a philosophical conversation. It's what it is. Like, there's no answer to the question, but what is the universe? It's the universe. It's reality. We can describe it. We can talk about it. We can subdivide it. We can talk about how one part of it interacts with the other part. At the end of the day, the universe is the universe. It's the thing that isn't explained in terms of anything else.
Yeah, and I know that this is a well-trodden path, and we'll move on presently, but you can understand, to me and to our listeners as well, perhaps, when you say something like, there's nothing more than like what it does. But you've used the word it. It's like it's sort of embedded into our language that if you say all there is what it does, there is no what it is, then when you say what it does, if there is no thing that it is, what does that word it like mean there,
I think this is all just a relic of the fact that in our everyday experience, we deal with subsystems of the world. What is this computer really? Like, what do you mean? You mean what it's made of, right? Like, okay, there's little pieces you can use to assemble it in a certain way. But when you apply those conceptions to the universe, to reality as a whole, there's again no reason to expect that we get the same kind of explanations. What is the universe? It's the universe. That's the answer. It is uniquely the universe. It's impossible to imagine an answer to what the universe is other than it's the universe.
Have you seen the clip of Richard Feynman being asked about magnets? I've mentioned this before on the show.
A long time ago. I don't remember it very well, but yeah.
Well, it's quite entertaining because it's some interviewer sort of saying like, so magnets, like what's going on there? Like, why do they do that? And Feynman's like, oh, something about a magnetic field and whatnot. And the guy's like, but why does that happen? Why is there that field? Why does it do that? And Feynman's like, that's it, man. Like that's all there is. And it's really funny because I kind of associate myself with both sides. I totally understand the physicist saying like, look, man, you've reached rock bottom. Like that's it. That's the ground floor. But I'm also kind of still like, there's got to be something that it is. So I do feel a little bit in limbo in these conversations. But I think that's quite an interesting example of the same kind of phenomenon. Of course, that self-same Philip Goff that I've just mentioned uses this as a route to say that, well, the isness of the universe is consciousness, because there's only one thing that we sort of know for what it is in itself. There's one thing that we experience like directly, and that is experience itself. We know what experience is, and we've got this big gap in the bottom of physics that we don't know what it is, we only know what it does, so maybe we can just plug up that gap with consciousness. I know you're not a panpsychist, but presumably you believe in consciousness. I know some people don't. I've heard you talk about consciousness in a way that I'd be surprised if you took the sort of illusion route or something that says that it literally doesn't exist. And yet, you're a physicalist. You think that there is this sort of field of stuff, of physical matter, even if we don't quite know what that is, that somehow bumps together in the right kind of way and then gives rise to something that isn't just like, a rock crumbling off a cliff or something, but is experience. Famously, the redness of red, the taste of Coca-Cola, the sound of children's laughter, whatever it is. What is going on there, in your view? What is giving rise to this sui generis, to use the same term that you did, thing in the universe called experience?
I don't think it's any different than tables and chairs. I think that experiences and conscious awareness of things is a set of vocabulary words that we use to describe collective behavior of particles and forces in the universe under the right circumstances. I can say that the table has a certain height, that it has a certain tensile strength, things like that. In the same way, I can say that this particular person is having an experience of seeing the redness of red. I literally see no gap there at all. This is just one of the sets of vocabulary words to describe what happens in the world at a higher level.
Yeah.
I've never heard Sean be this combative with someone he's speaking with. I think he knows this guy's a bit of a character. What? Was that a meme? What?
I mean, you'll be familiar, of course, with the reasons why people are suspicious of this, but perhaps we can try to be specific and make it interesting. I mean, for a start, it seems as though I could give a complete description of the activities of a brain. I could describe the sort of electrochemical processes and the way that neurons fire and connect with each other and the brain regions and all that kind of stuff. And were it not that we already knew there was this thing called experience that sort of came along with that, I wouldn't expect or predict that there would be this thing that the philosophers called qualia, the redness of red. I would just predict that there would be some atoms and neurons moving around and bumping into each other in various ways. It seems, in other words, that like a physicalist description of the brain would not predict, at least on its own, that there is this thing called experience that goes along with the neurons moving around in physical space. What do you think of that?
I don't see why not. I think that's just because you're not very good at predicting things. But neither am I, because it's very, very complicated. I mean, we're literally trying to compare two things. One is a physicalist understanding of nature at its most fundamental, which, as we said, currently takes the form of some quantum mechanical theory of fields and particles and stuff like that, which is literally the best understood feature of all of science, because we can...
Wait, what did you say? What did you say? What?
You gooped everything already?
Is it the peanut guy who does this goop word? I don't like this goop word. I don't like the goop word. There wasn't even anything in here, too.
Absolutely make precision measurements. We can set things up. We can simplify things. We can get rid of all the complications. We can test things to 12 decimal places. And we can push our experiments well beyond our everyday realm of experience, and we still get the right answer. And it's all beautiful, pristine. It makes perfect sense. On the other hand, we have consciousness and the brain, which is literally the least well understood thing in all of science. It's incredibly complex. We don't know exactly what's going on, even at the physical level in the brain, much less the emergent level of psychology and experiences and things like that. And you're saying, well, I am a little bit unsure how to connect one to the other. And I'm going to say, That is the completely unsurprising result of this. Like, why in the world would you expect to, with our current state of the art, to be able to make explicit that connection? And the fact that you don't is certainly not any reason to change our fundamental notion of how reality works. It's obviously to admit that we don't understand how the brain works very well. I use the analogy, it's like saying, I can't find my car keys, I should buy a new car. That's not the right strategy to use in this situation. You have to be a little bit more patient than that.
Yeah, I suppose for the person who thinks that consciousness is inexplicable on physicalism, it's more like, I don't understand how a car could even possibly exist in the universe as I understand it. And people sort of view...
This is something I wish they would have spent more time on this. Why does this guy keep following me around? I don't like this guy. I feel like consciousness is a thing. Like, I don't even know if I could conceive of how to observe another observer. Bro, this guy sucks.
This is the guy that sneaked this.
Did sneak? What? I don't even know what the fuck that guy just said. Pretty sure it was a racial slur, though.
Consciousness that way, and I think...
That guy has no conscious experience, true.
Commonly, people will say, and there are more and less sophisticated versions of this, but they'll say, look, consciousness is just something science will explain. Like, it's no surprise. It's super complicated.
What do you mean, observe another observer? As in, I'm having an experience right now. I don't know if you could ever observe my experience. I don't know how you could do that. It seems impossible to do that. So if something else was having an experience, I don't know how I could ever perceive that having an experience. It just seems to be, it's like the biggest weirdo challenge to like, I guess a materialist or physicalist view of the world. Because obviously we must believe we're having some kind of conscious experience, but like, how do we even speak about that meaningfully? He said you were sneak dissing. He was a burnt peanut fan who knew who you were. I didn't say I don't like goop in game.
And we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
But there are philosophers of mind who don't just want to say science hasn't explained consciousness yet, but that it in principle cannot do so. It seems to occupy a different kind of space. Thomas Nagel is the sort of famous name
the vibes
here
were off.
that I think most succinctly puts this case in what is it like to be a bat. And one useful way of getting at this is with a famous thought experiment that I've heard you speak about before, but I had a question about your interpretation or response to this. Famously, Mary's room. I talk about this all the time on the show. And most people are familiar. Mary is in a room. It's totally black and white. She experiences no color for all of her life. But she is given every single piece of information that could possibly be written down onto a piece of paper and understood and like comprehended by her. She's given that. She becomes an expert. She learns about the wavelengths of light. She learns about the biology of the eye and the brain chemistry and all of that kind of stuff. But she's never seen blue. And then, at the end of her life, she steps outside.
Fuck. Sean better not give the worst. I wonder if Sean would say, well, if she hasn't seen it yet, then she hasn't been given all the information. No way would he say that. That's such a cop-out fucking answer. He's not going to say that.
She looks up, she sees the blue sky, and the question is, does she learn something new? And the implicit answer is, yes, she learns something new. She learns what it's like to see blue. And whatever that extra thing is that she's learned is what consciousness is. I've heard you talk about this before, and
what does he say?
I just want to give you space to respond to that, and then I've got a follow-up question, if your answer remains the same as it did when I last heard you speak about this. So what do you think about that?
I'm a little bit thrown off my game because it's always red that she's never seen, and you're making it blue.
True.
And I'm not quite sure how to
yeah.
change gears so quickly, Alex. So let me give it a try. And I think there's different, I have one opinion, but there's different ways of stating it. So let me state it this way. Mary's room, even though Frank Jackson, who popularized the thought experiment, has repudiated the conclusion that it is used to draw, many other people still stick with it.
I didn't know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, no, he's totally a physicalist now.
Wow, really? do you know why? Like, was there like
Because it's a bad argument. I can explain why I think it's a bad argument. I cannot promise I can explain why he changed his mind about it. But look, it's supposed to be a refutation or repudiation, I was mixing up those two words together, of physicalism. It's supposed to be, you're supposed to reach the conclusion that physicalism can't be true. Okay, well, what is the physicalist saying about what's happening to Mary, the color scientist, in her room? He's saying that when she's in her room and everything is black and white and she's reading all the books on color theory and getting all of these pieces of information, she's learning things. And what that means to the physicalist is there are certain connections between certain neurons in her brain that are firing and strengthening so that when you ask questions, she can answer them,
he is going to say
et cetera. Usual physicalist.
She hasn't learned everything because she hasn't seen it.
Then she steps outside. Blue light wavelength photons impinge on her retina for the first time, and she sees the color blue. What happens? To the physicalist, different neurons fire in her brain, and different synapses are strengthened. No one disagrees with that. And now she says, oh, now I know what it's like to see and experience the color blue. Where in the world is there any problem with that? Like, where is the refutation of physicalism? The physicalist explains this with 100% fidelity. There's nothing missing.
I think the issue is quite specific. At least the issue that I think is interesting, which is that we're indebted to Galileo for telling us that maths is the language of the universe, and the scientist wants to say that everything which is possible to scientifically explain is something that you could, in principle, formulate in the language of mathematics. I don't know if you agree with that, but that's sort of the tradition that we inherit from Galileo, right? Is this idea that anything which is scientifically true can be mathematized. And if something can be mathematized and explained or described in a mathematical formula with letters and numbers, then in principle, everything that there is to know could be written.
How is this a cop-out? Because it seems to be that qualia... Well, now I don't know. Now as I think about this, it feels cringe. What the fuck is this? Rotary encoder? Does my cock go in here? It seems to be that qualia are a thing that can't be communicated from one person to another, whereas all that other information can be communicated through speech or through written word. But the experience of a thing is a thing that you either have to experience yourself, and that seems to be unique. But now I don't know if Sean would just say, well, why isn't reading the text on the page? Maybe that's unique. Why is the experience of a thing itself any more unique than reading the words on the page? Maybe that's unique. And I don't know. Maybe that is a good answer. I think I would have to think about that more deeply, so never mind. But still, fuck him. Hello there. Say hello back. Don't shoot.
Down onto a piece of paper. I understand that, like, when Mary exits the room, and there are like different neurons that fire in her brain and that gives rise to the experience, that's fine. But if there is any kind of knowledge that she gains, anything that you could class as knowledge, and if the scientist, to use the sort of religious buzzword, believes that anything which can be known can be described in the language of mathematics, it would imply that the very knowledge that she has of that experience of blue could in principle have been written down onto a piece of paper, such that when she read and understood that thing on that piece of paper, she got that knowledge that she gets when she walks out. She could get that just from reading something that's written down. So like the problem for me is specifically the fact that it's not so much about physicalism, but more about scientific description. The idea that one day science will be able to explain or describe consciousness implies to me, and maybe I'm wrong about this, that science will one day be able to take that knowledge that Mary gains when she steps outside of the room and write it down onto a piece of paper, such that just by reading that thing on the piece of paper, you would get the same knowledge. I don't think that's possible, and so my question to you is, do you think that's possible? And if it's not, then what is, like, a scientific description that cannot be...
Don't say what I just said. Don't say that.
I think this is just very clearly a problem with getting mixed up linguistically,
No!
not scientifically or philosophically.
Don't say the thing.
As I said, when Mary reads about the science of color...
It's activating synapses in neurons.
Certain neurons do certain things in her brain.
And then when she sees it, it activates other neurons.
Different neurons do different things in her brain.
That's cringe.
I could write down what the neurons are doing with no problem at all. But me writing down what the neurons are doing doesn't make the neurons do that. What makes the neurons do that is seeing the color blue. And again, I don't think the physicalist has any problem capturing any of this.
I do.
So
that's cringe.
Okay, so in agreement with that, you could write down what the neurons do, but that's not going to make the neurons fire.
Yeah, exactly.
When those neurons fire, and I could describe to Mary what neurons will fire in which way when she does step outside, such that she has a complete understanding of the neurons that are firing. Yet, when the neurons actually do fire, she will discover that it's not just that, oh, well, neurons are firing in my brain. It's like, oh, and I'm having this experience. In other words, yeah, like, those neurons don't fire until she steps outside, but you could describe what those neurons are doing, and it seems like she would still not expect or know what it's like to see that blue, even if she had a full understanding of those neurons, implying that the whole totality of what you could scientifically write down on a piece of paper would still not include that experiential aspect of blue. I know it seems like we're kind of going around in circles here, but I want to make sure I'm being very specific here, because I understand what you're saying. Those neurons won't fire until she steps outside. But the point of a scientific explanation is that you should be able to take that new thing that happens when those neurons fire, that experience that comes with it, and sort of reduce it onto the piece of paper, which I just don't think is possible.
But it doesn't give you the experience. Telling Mary about what neurons fire when she sees the color blue doesn't make those neurons fire. That's a purely... my only point... My point is not to disagree that there's something new. My point is to disagree that physicalism has any difficulty describing it whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
Because the neurons have to fire to get the experience. Okay, let me put it this way then. Do you think that if you did explain to Mary in her room exactly which neurons were going to fire in what way when she stepped outside...
No, because it doesn't give them the experience.
And she understood the totality of everything that could be known about the brain, that she would predict that she would have this thing called, like, qualia, and blueness would arise?
She might be able to, but again, the ability to go from a reductionist lower level description to the higher level emergent description is very difficult, and it's not like necessarily an easy step. The important point for the philosophical point of the thought experiment is that all of that knowledge that she gains doesn't make those neurons fire. So you're using a linguistic construction to say she learned something new even though she knew all the facts. But that's an incorrect linguistic construction to the physicalist. The physicalist wants to know which neurons are firing. It's a different set, so it's a different thing happening, no problems.
And given that Mary's room is unconvincing to you, and apparently to Frank Jackson as well, which is interesting to hear.
What's your strongest argument that Alex should say here then? I feel like everything the physicalist guy is saying here is consistent and makes sense to me. I don't know. I would have to think more. By default, I would trust anything Sean Carroll says about this over me because he's thought about it more and has had better thinkers about this subject on more. It feels like experiences are of a different kind of thing than things that can be described on paper. Like, if we can reduce it to saying just firing neurons, but like, it seems that there are some neurons, like we can fire all of the mathematical neurons without having experience, right? I don't think we need to see a derivative or see a function in real life to understand a function, or see linear algebra in real life to do linear algebra or whatever. Like, we don't have to see these things in real life, I don't think. But to have an experience of a thing, it seems like a thing that we have to, it seems like a thing of a different kind. It feels like it. But he would just argue that you're firing off neurons, but it seems like they're just different types of neurons to be fired off. Like, how would you describe color? Like, what if you just didn't have those neurons to fire off? Like, we don't speak, for instance, when it comes to logic, I think that our understanding is that every single human should be able to understand, like, all logic, right? Unless the person is so unbelievably impaired that they can't perform, like, basic cognitive functions. But not all humans can have all experiences. Like, someone who's deaf or blind, you can never, like, explain color or whatever to them, right? Or sound or whatever. I don't know. It's unsatisfying to me. But maybe I just need to think about it more, and it would be more satisfying. I don't know.
When it comes to consciousness, just in closing here, what do you think? Are you totally just nonplussed by it? Are there any of these kind of thought experiments or problems, the stuff that, you know, someone like Philip Goff writes about in Galileo's Error or whatever, I know you've debated him a few times, or Thomas Nagel or these guys, is there anything in that? It's sort of like the question I asked you about God earlier. You don't agree with it, but is there something about it that makes you go, gosh, this is a bit weird and needs explaining? Or are you just like, it's just brain chemistry, like, you know, what's everyone going so crazy about? Like, you can understand why so many philosophers are completely perplexed by this experience thing. And what do you think is the strongest consideration that would maybe move you out of physicalism if it were, like, powerful enough?
I think it'd be easy to move me out of physicalism if there was just evidence that something was happening that physicalism couldn't explain.
Ooh, see, like, that's an interesting thing to push on, because would you ever agree that something was happening that couldn't be explained physically, or would you just assume there's a deeper physical explanation for the thing that you can't explain? Because historically, through all of scientific and human history, when a thing is inexplicable with the current laws of physics, we modify the laws of physics to something different, right? Oh my god, every shot missed. Oh, fuck. I was gonna climb up the rope. If they're gonna release as much information as they have out about the matchmaking thing, I wonder if, they should just release it all. Fuck. I wanna know if you can shoot back at people without getting... There should be some way to figure it out. Fuck these peaceful cues.
I think that consciousness is the worst place to look for that, precisely because the human brain is incredibly complicated and it's the last thing we should expect to understand. So I have zero, epsilon maybe, but effectively no worries about that. Of course, there's a huge number of super interesting questions to ask about consciousness, how it works in the brain, precisely because it is very complicated and we have very little current level understanding of it. It's a wealth of interesting questions. But in terms of a currently available challenge to physicalism, I really don't see anything in consciousness that rises to that standard.
Well, that's great to hear, because I've had a lot of non-physicalists on the show. I've had idealists and panpsychists and the like, and I think my audience were... I've seen some comments sort of being like, why we need to get a bit of materialist representation here, or physicalist representation. So I'm glad to say that you have expertly provided it. Sean Carroll, thank you so much for your time. It's been great fun.
What?
Thanks very much for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
That was the only interesting topic. You should be able to scream, "Stop resisting," and aim your gun at a player, and if they run or shoot, you get no aggression points. True. Oh, this autism video, debating HDR. Whew. The fuck? Thoughts? What is this? Are they dead?
Thank you to CyberGhost VPN for supporting PBS. Does quantum mechanics allow the future to retroactively influence the past?
What?
As in the infamous delayed choice quantum eraser experiment. Well, how about we get an actual quantum physicist, who many of you already know, to show us how to do this experiment.
No one cares. Quantum mechanics are for losers. Have you tried telling people that shoot at you that they're now in the domestic terrorist database? True. Ilhan Omar got sprayed with some shit? Yeah, we already watched this. You're late, losers. We didn't say that they sprayed her, though. I didn't see that. Do we know what he said? Check Asmongold's chat reaction to the Ilhan Omar stuff.
What a retard.
I don't know.
Fake, fake and gay. Can't be doing that. Limfeo. Why was she about to hit him?
What a retard.
That's it. We don't need a foreigner telling us what to do. She's American, you fucking... What the fuck? Nice. Paid actor.
Yep.
Fake, fake. Fuck this bitch. Get her out. So a Somalian is posing abolishing an American enforcement agency. It was just a peaceful protest. Seems staged, fake. That was an Antifa plant. Notice how the camera lady got into position first. That was staged. Retard based, good, deserved. She was ready to attack, LOL. Why did she advance towards him?
Oh.
Actor, that was cum. He missed, LOL. Limfeo, LOL.
Oh.
Seems fake. Slow it down. Cinema. Staged. That felt staged.
No, we will continue. No. You need to go.
Another Somalia scam. Drunken fat. Paid shill. Staged. Fake. Seems staged. Cinema. Paid actor.
No, we will continue. These fucking assholes are not gonna get away with it.
False flag. Stage.
It's all an act.
Why is she still in America? Jesus Christ.
Act, maybe. I have no idea.
That's what they want. Please don't let them know.
Didn't seem real.
It's fake? You think it's fake? I don't think it's really fake. Why do you think it's fake? I don't think it's... Why even say that? Honestly, it's just political violence. I don't think anybody should support this or be okay with this. It's awful. They should put this guy in jail for fucking 10, 20 years.
I wonder if he's going to criticize Trump's lack of response to it. Let me use the rest of that. I got to do this debate. One sec. Oh, boy.